Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone in between, welcome to the Everything and Nothing Show. I'm just one of your hostess with the mostest, your friendly neighborhood podcaster, Clayton Kisco, and I'm accompanied, of course, by the rest of the Maelstrom Gamers. On this podcast with us today, we have the A-Train, the Canadian sensation, T-House, Alan Toner. If you guys didn't know, that's the Canadian dance for when you get pumped up for a podcast. That I don't know. I think that was just Rocco adding stuff. That doesn't.
No,
I think it goes
was
just
some
like
guy in the
puffing
background.
or something.
That was in the background of that cheering. There was always one guy, right? So like, I saw him.
And next up, we have the heartthrob. Every man wants to be him, and every woman wants to be with him, but maybe not really. Rocco Avellino.
I'm gonna say I might love last week's episodes if you haven't seen those yet. Ian's impersonation of Clay. He definitely laid it down a little bit better than at least describing who I am and my character.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
That
man.
was really good. He the beard I didn't know was fake.
So part of it was real and part of it was fake, like makeup then. It was good, man. He did a good job.
He looked good with the beard.
hair
He
back
could
and
grow a
on.
beard.
I was like,
he
he should have shaved.
It's crazy.
He should have shaved.
And guys, we're also accompanied by a guest of ours by the name of Rachael Ingram. She is the second half of the Intergalactic Circus podcast, where you guys might be familiar with. We had Yukiko on not too long ago. And she's also the owner, creator, and what do you call it? Just
resident, awesome, badass, most
Founder.
Yeah, founder
Yeah.
of perpetualpets.com. Perpetuallyyourpets.com, sorry. And that is, Rachel, help me out. That's basically your own website where you create custom-made crafts for pets and anything between accessories for pets, pillows. You do tote bags.
Very cool.
Yeah, and prints.
Actually, which is, I think, kind of like a weird, like, I guess misconception in a way, is people think I make things for pets, which would be like really weird because like dogs don't wear tote bags,
Right.
or haircuts.
Yeah.
I make things for people who like animals.
That's right.
That's kind of like the angle of my business. And I guess it would be good if I explained kind of where I got the idea and how it came along. All that noise.
Yeah.
I always wanted to start my own business. That was kind of my goal from the get-go because I just kind of don't like working for people. But this idea just like fell into my lap, literally. I went to stay with my best friend, Sarah. Hey, Sarah, if you're watching. And she let me stay with her like right after school. When you get out of school, you have no money, you have nothing going for you. I was living with my mom, for the first like week or two. And she was like, no, like come out to the city because my mom lives in the suburbs. Stay with me. I got a free room, in my apartment, whatever. Like, let's just like have this badass summer, and like.
What city is this?
Whatever. Chicago. I'm from Chicago, born and raised, and now I'm here still. Woo!
Gotcha.
Chicago's awesome.
And it is awesome. You're right. So I let her, or she let me stay with her for like months, rent free, whatever, till I got on my feet. And so when Christmas rolled around, I was like, I'm going to make her a gift because I don't have any money. I just started this job, so I'm going to make her something. And so I decided to make her these 3 throw pillows to match this like super ugly ass couch that she had just bought. It was huge and blocky and like Frankenstein green corduroy. Like, I don't know.
Corduroy, nice.
What planet this couch came from, but it was ugly.
What era is that? Corduroy couches? Like 70s?
She loves.
Hey, don't even hate on that. That might be nice. Like, if you just.
What? No, when is corduroy ever comfortable on your skin?
Yeah, it's like.
If you like drag yourself across of it, it could be like a massage.
No, like rug burn. I just envision rug burn and itchiness.
Yeah, and it was green. It was just like ugly. It was like pea green. She was really into like the mid-century modern stuff, so I think it was like some weird like late 60s, early 70s era like garbage. Anyway, so like I decided to make her these 3 pillows to match, this new couch that she got. And it was going to be her 3 favorite things, which were coffee and bikes and her dog Penny, which her and I had actually fostered while I was staying with her, and she decided to just keep her, and she still has her to this day because we just couldn't get away from this adorable, ridiculous dog. And so I made her these 3 pillows with the portrait of the dog and whatever, and she posted them on Facebook, and people are like, oh my God, where'd you get those? That's so cute. That's awesome. And she was like, oh, my friend just like made them as a gift. And so people were messaging me like, hey, I want a picture of like my dog or my cat on a pillow. And so I started making these custom pet portrait pillows. So basically you tell me about your animal and I come up with an illustration based on like whatever like wacky shit you tell me about your animal, and make it into a pillow using all recycled fabrics, and it's like kind of collagey, whatever.
I saw one where it was a little dog and he had a bear stuffed animal and he was a ventriloquist.
Yes.
Yeah. So like
his thing was that he looked just like that bear. That was like his dog dad's like interpretation. So he was like, "This is his twin," and I was like, "Okay, he's a ventriloquist." So they're like
awesome.
the same.
Yeah, it was really cute too. Awesome.
Yeah, there's one of my favorites too is a hedgehog that loved cardboard tubes.
And where
like
do we find this again? You said where's this?
PerpetuallyYoursPets.com.
Okay.
And you can look under my gallery, my custom pet portrait pillow gallery, and see the ridiculousness.
Okay.
Yeah, there was one of a hedgehog that loved toilet paper tubes, and so I have a picture of like the hedgehog and the toilet paper tube like sort of running toward each other, like the slow-mo movie, you know? So yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
like to get silly with it. Like if I'm gonna spend hours on this,
Yeah. Totally.
So, yeah, I did that for about a year and a half, and then I realized the pet market was so big that I was like, I'm going to branch out. I want to do more stuff. So I started this line of illustrated dog breed pillows, which are a big thing. I illustrate the dogs dressed in costumes based on something from the history of the breed.
Cool.
Very cool.
So yeah.
It's like a Scottish Terrier would be wearing like a kilt.
Yeah,
and a bagpipe.
basically something like
What
that.
would you do for an Australian Shepherd?
I will have to research the breed because I like literally like will extensively read about each breed. And I'm like,
Okay.
what sounds interesting? Let's see. And then I
Yeah, I
sit there
gotcha.
and ponder what
I
the
gotcha.
illustration is.
Good
But
use
I
of
got
the
you.
word
I got
ponder.
you, Rocco.
Okay, good. I hope so. I've been thinking, you've been talking about all this, and I'm like, what am I going to do for my dog?
My dog. Yeah.
I'm like, if I'm throwing frisbees and stuff, what would she paint? You know, like, what's
Dude, oh man, could you do a frisbee, like a print on a frisbee? Because Rocco plays a ton of frisbee golf.
Yeah, exactly. That would be really
Like,
cool.
could you have a
actually.
custom frisbee with your dog on it? That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And
Or
then
that he
also-
could tear it apart.
Or that he could tear it apart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In
You
love.
also wonder
In
around
love.
Perpetually Yours merchandise where people who have dogs that tear shit up are like, they will not tear up this pillow. They love this pillow. I'm like, I
Oh,
put
really?
Yeah.
juju on it so that dogs don't
You
Tear
put
it
what
up.
on it? You said?
like juju on it. You know, like a little
okay,
like
okay, gotcha. You're like, "Hurrah!"
Wait.
Yeah,
a little bit of that. I'm
Oh,
all
juju.
about that.
Got
It's all
it.
under a
good.
lot of money.
I know some of those.
The
spells. I'm
audio
just
cut
not-
out, so for those watching, listening, juju.
Juju.
It's official juju that was used.
If you can't tell with the hand motions what that was.
Right. Or if you're listening
You're
to MP3. Anyway, sorry. So we cut you off. So you branched out, and then you started getting more clients, I imagine, and just slowly building.
Yeah, the custom stuff is always just like crazy, especially around Christmas. So that I don't think I will give up. And I've just started, branching out doing other products. And my big thing right now is actually I'm working on my site right now, like rebuilding it, whatever. And because I just transferred over to a new whole situation. I use Shopify now instead of WordPress, and I'm trying to do this like whole
So
Nice.
different host.
yeah, and so I'm like rebuilding it, but I'm starting a clothing line actually, all animal themed stuff, and it's going to be really cool and funky because all my stuff kind of has a little bit of like a punk rock,
Not like furry
skaty
kind of shit, right?
vibe.
Not like.
No, like
Okay,
actual
okay.
clothes that real human beings can wear on the street.
I gotta throw it
I
out
mean, if it was
She's
what you were
saying
gonna
this
make
and all
too,
I'm
that
thinking
would
is
be
like-
cool too, Rocco. I mean,
like
Yeah,
furry.
like don't discriminate, Rocco.
yeah.
Now
You
am
can
I
get
gonna be
behind
like a
Phase out
lion?
this video right now. No.
Can you? All right,
Totally
so I was trying to take a stab. I took art history way back in the day. In fact, being a video game design major, I had to take 4. The style I want to say is like a weird, like a modern Victorian style.
Yeah, it kind of has that vibe. I have
Okay.
a lot of like that influence. I love really decorative stuff and
Yeah.
like add little like flourishes and fancy stuff to it. But it also has a very like contemporary, cool vibe. Like it's kind of like flat design type stuff. I used to screen print everything, and so that was kind of the vibe that I had. Like keeping colors flat, keeping very like graphic looking stuff, but everything also has kind of like a cool, edgy DIY punk rock vibe because that's just kind of like my deal. So
And I get that through the layers. Like
Yeah.
you have a 3D element in there through the way that you layer your images, which I thought was really interesting. So that's where the modern piece comes to, or like even I don't know, it's just like what is it, like art in motion where you see like things like pop up slow. and
yeah,
it's just
and they sort of like cross. Like,
Yeah, that I don't know what that is. But like that's what I got from it. It's very cool. I haven't seen that been done in like this space before.
Like that 2.5D kind of style stuff.
It's just like when you're watching a commercial and like things just like pop up, but they're clearly like they're just like 2D art, but they're moving them like Flash,
Like motion graphics.
Motion graphic, yeah. It's got a very motion graphic feel, like snapshot of it, which is really neat. Like I like that.
Very cool.
And with the colors and all, like, it gets very punk rocky. So
I have a small question.
Yes.
How often do people end up going to Perpetual Pet instead of Perpetually Your Pet? The one that's like for stuffing animals.
That would be amazing. I didn't even know.
When I searched for it before Clay said it was Perpetually Your Pet, I went to Perpetual Pet, and it's like this designed site from like I don't know 1991, and it's for like
shit.
it's for taxidermy. It says pet preservation through freeze dry technology. And I was like, I don't think this is what Rachel does. Like, I was really confused for a second. And yeah, I'm glad I went to your site afterwards.
You could probably just buy them out for $5 and redirect.
I was like, there's no way Rachel has a site that's designed like this poorly. Like, this looks like it came from 1991.
Crafty, like Angel Fire animated GIF.
Yeah. I mean, this one has a rainbow, so yeah, who knows?
I'm missing out. I'm sure people do, and that's actually why I was thinking of changing my site and also shortening it because it's Perpetually Yours Pets, all like one like long ass thing. Because my Instagram, which I can plug to, is at pypets, and so I was thinking of making pypets.com because that's a lot easier to remember. So
Twitter account as well.
Yeah, I also have a Twitter. That one's kind of weird. It's like at Perpetually Yours YRS, Perpetually YRS. And then I also have Facebook, which is Facebook/Perpetually Yours Pets. So you guys can find me on all those things and keep up with the ridiculousness that I do. The last thing I posted on Instagram was actually a painting that I did of my gym partner / really good friend's dog, who is one of the loves of my life. I love this dog. And I painted her with 2 legs, but she's been recently made into a tripod. So she's like, she's missing her little...
Is that Lucy?
Yes, that is Lucy.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Because I was confused. I was like, the picture has 2 legs in the front. And I was like, oh no!
I like
this. I had to hack her up a little bit. She got bone cancer in her shoulder.
Oh,
dang.
We'll just cut that right off. And she gets going, though, man. She gets that little...
She can fly, right?
Yeah. She used to do this thing where when you would come up to her, she would like want you to pet her, so she would put her little paw up like this. But that's the leg that got chopped off. So when you go up to her, you can see her shoulder.
Oh,
like,
God.
She's like ghost pawing me. That's what I call it.
Ghost pawing? I love it.
Ghost pawing me, 'cause she doesn't have a leg.
I like this American Pit Bull Terrier pillow you got going on here. This looks awesome.
Yeah.
Tools were used
Just checking
during
this out now.
to send messages back to the troops on the battlefield.
Oh, so that's why you did that one there. Okay. What
They
about the
also
Boston
have, like,
Terrier?
little-
What was the reasoning behind the Boston Terrier?
Oh, the Boston Terrier. They were bred during the Victorian era, so they're dressed like a little lord and lady of the Victorian.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
And they're known as America's gentlemen. That's what they're looking like.
Yeah.
Dog.
Very cool.
And pit bulls are known as the nanny dog, by the way.
Yeah.
So people are always so freaked out by pit bulls. Like, they fucking love kids. They love everyone. They just want to do their thing.
I had a pit bull. Sadly, he fell under the terrible stereotype, and we had to
He was bitey.
Yeah, but you're right, because I remember doing a ton of research in light of that, and they were the nanny dog. They're very nice, but he
that
just had a
happens
really
with,
bad upbringing.
So even like Australian Shepherds, like I got too, they're herding dogs, so they do a lot of nipping. It's same too as well. That it's like it's like a part of the dog. You have to kind of get used to it. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of ingrained. So at least it's not full on biting. It's just small little stuff.
Just little hurry up and get where
just
I'm
like
get go.
I come over this way.
Don't
herd me into the kitchen, bro. Get out of here.
Don't hurt me.
They do that. I used to dog sit a border collie, and she would if I had someone over at the same time, she would make sure she would circle us until everybody got in the same room. That's their job. They do their job.
They do. It's so odd. I've never taught him how to do any of that stuff, but we go to around the area where my chickens are, and he will naturally just do it. And I'm like, this is cool. All right.
Yeah.
They're brainwashed into their little job.
I saw that you had a Kickstarter, Rachel.
Yes. Well, my idea, that was just kind of like a like a placeholder wishful thinking type thing, but I am starting a Kickstarter. I haven't done it yet. I actually was going to do it a year ago, and then I decided to start doing this clothing thing. So I said, okay, let me put the Kickstarter on the back burner until I get this clothing thing started. I have a client who I did some graphic design work for because I'm a freelance graphic designer for my 9 to 5. And he's a clothing manufacturer, and he liked working with me so much, and I told him about my business in passing, and he said, look, when you're ready to do anything that you could use my services for, just let me know, and like I'm here. So I told him I wanted to do clothing, and he's like, yeah, just like send me samples of, stuff you want to do, and like let's get started, and I'll make the samples for you, like 1 or 2 samples of everything, kind of like free of charge, and then you can promote it, and then when people start ordering, then you can pay for the production once people start ordering, which is like unheard of in the manufacturing world. It's just not how it's usually. You have to pay a shit ton in advance, order a bunch of them, and then just kind of hope and pray that.
Whoa. Because you can go. I mean, that's a lot of money in the hole if nobody orders it, right? Like it's a blind leap.
It's called. I think it's called like shadow marketing, except for the sake that they're giving it to you for free. Like.
Right. So he's kind of like doing me like a solid, basically.
Yeah.
I have to do that, but he's just like a super nice guy. So I'm looking forward to getting started on that. I'll be sending him a package because he wanted me to send him like an example of like whatever, like if I wanted to do like a mini skirt, like go buy a mini skirt that's like the cut that I want and then like send it to him. So like go to American Apparel or H&M or something and just like buy a basic cut so that he can use that to like make the sizes off of because he's in another country. And so like they're like wacky stuff, he's in China, and so like me and Yukiko have talked about on Intergalactic Circus, sizes for things in Asia are not congruent with sizes of things in America.
Oh wow,
very true. Yeah.
Right, so I'll go buy a small of that, and then he can base like the extra small, the medium, the large, the extra large off of just the proportions of that.
That's a good idea. Yeah, get around that.
That's the plan, Stan.
Cool.
Oh yeah, I've got that coming in the works. Hopefully, my goal is to work on the line to be, delivered to people spring, summer of next year. So hopefully the Kickstarter should be coming out early fall or something like that. I just got to record a new video and do all that fancy stuff. So.
All right, well, we'll definitely be on the lookout for that. And share it and tell all the gamers that you should check this out. Yeah. I don't know how many of the gamers will be interested, but.
There's a lot of gamers that have
a fashion sense that would be, but of our audience, like I feel like most of our audience are white middle-aged men.
I think so too.
Play League of Legends. Yeah,
Maybe.
Middle-aged.
Somewhere around there.
We're approaching middle age. You guys.
We talk a lot. We talk a lot about kids.
Guys.
And we talk a lot about. All right,
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
saying.
weird.
I'm just saying.
It's real weird.
Yeah. Anything else that you guys wanted to ask Rachael about perpetuallyyourspets.com? Or Rachael, did you have anything else that you wanted to add? We talked about the Kickstarter and
we talked about my social media. We got the link to the website, and know that you need to go to the one that's got the cool stuff and not the dead animals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't get that mixed up.
Yeah, just don't. That would be real weird. I think that's a pretty good overview of my old business here.
Cool.
Unless you took the real pets and you stuffed them and you made them look just like what you're trying to do.
I stuffed them and made them into a pillow so that when you sleep
yeah.
carcass of your dead pet, like
then you can take that site, merge it, and you guys are getting. I'm down for it. It's like the best pillow ever.
I don't really like my Australian Shepherd anyway.
Might just carry a few ticks and fleas, but we're good.
Ew.
it's like the eyes all bugged out and you're trying to.
Oh, it's so creepy.
Bad idea. Can't
That'd
merge
be
the
so weird.
Guys, on that note, let's go on to our next topic. Rachael, you're the guest, so you get the privilege of see what I did there? Of going first. So go ahead. Alan's just shaking his head at every little. Yeah.
He's like, this
Puns are too bad in the morning.
I've been reading too many dad puns. So.
Yeah.
Well, you're a dad, so you are that guy now.
I embrace it now.
Hey, congratulations on the 6th month, though.
Thank you. Yeah, he'll be 1 year.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's a weird.
You survived.
No,
Yeah,
you're
survived.
posting all about him being 6 months.
Oh, I thought you said in 6 months.
No.
No, thank you. Yeah. He's doing good. All right, let's go on to our next topic, though. Rachael, this is going to be your topic. So why don't you share with us
Yeah, as you mentioned before, I am the second half of Intergalactic Circus, a podcast where I have with my bestie Yukiko, where we talk about some serious and not so serious issues that relate to society and just like our personal experiences as women of color in our now approaching our middle-age years, what have yous. And one topic that we had a lot of response to was that of privilege, and then also just speaking on feminism as a whole, I think is an interesting topic to have with you gentlemen, and I don't think that that's something that you guys have discussed, so I thought it would be cool to be your resident expert on this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm down. So, you shared a chart with us. Does everybody have the chart accessible?
I got it right now. Yeah.
Looking at it?
Can I need the one that you shared, Clay. I need you to allow my email to see it.
What? You don't have the privilege.
What?
Are we looking at the white privilege checklist right now?
I have no email privilege.
Let me see what I can do here.
You are
And is
currently
that-
oppressed via email.
Is that the that Google document that we're supposed to be opening up to?
Yes. Do you... Here.
Okay, that was the one I was having problems with too.
Okay. You guys should now have...
Yeah, it's a little circular kind of diagram thing with some
Okay,
like
here we go.
Yeah. You scroll down.
Like-
It's in there.
like a sunburst kind of situation.
Yeah.
Scroll down and where inside the
Oh,
chat?
yeah, okay. I haven't
It's
seen
the
this one.
only big image with a big... You'll know as soon as you see it, Rocco.
I'm in the chat. I don't see it.
No, there's a link that I needed you to click that takes you to Google Drive.
No, I am.
Oh.
Oh, never mind. Now it's taking me. Never mind.
Okay, Rocco really is middle-aged. He's like an old man that doesn't know how to use a computer.
Where's the
Dude,
stop button, Sonny?
I clicked it a million times and it kept telling me that I couldn't do it.
Yeah, because you probably didn't have privilege, and I gave you privilege.
Yeah, exactly.
Privilege.
I take privilege.
I don't think it has to be like subliminal messaging.
It's not. That's not subliminal at all. That's straight up
It's that one he's yelling,
Blatant messaging.
Yeah. Privilege.
yelling it at you. Got it.
Okay, so with this, how do you want to start, Rachel?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of people have kind of a weird idea of what privilege even means. A lot of people think that privilege means you grew up with money and you had an easy life and you've never experienced anything hard and everything's been handed to you, blah, blah, blah. And so when they hear the word privilege, they are immediately like, pushed back by it, and they think that someone's making assumptions about their upbringing. But really, the idea of social privilege, not financial privilege or anything like that, is that just from being born, what you are naturally, there are certain either advantages or marginalizations that you experience solely based on that. Like you guys, as straight white men, probably from relatively middle class upbringings, etc. You have a college education, blah, blah, blah. Like you are way up here on the privilege
I don't think it gets any
scale.
better, right?
Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like
that's
I think
the
you guys
top.
are kind of the cream of the crop on that.
Yeah.
The only thing that would probably make you even more so is if you were like extraordinarily rich. Like that would be
millionaires
Yeah,
or
yeah.
billionaires.
Like,
Then it's
like
just
trust
adds
fund
that.
babies or something.
Yeah.
right. And there's some other like kind of nuanced things that are in the little map thing that we can go over a little bit too. But basically, like, yeah, you guys are kind of at the top of the thing here. And someone, like me, I'm a black female, from kind of like a low income family and this and that, whatever. Like, I'm much lower than you guys are. Like, there's a huge, disparity socially, what's expected of me, what's thought of me, stereotypes, etc., that are based solely on these things that I can't even control. So I think that it's an issue that a lot of people don't really think about because they don't have to, especially someone who may be in a similar position to you guys where you just go through your life and you don't bump into these issues, so you don't really think they exist.
And I don't know how much this will derail or contribute to your direction of the topic, but I'm always fascinated why some people, particularly in our Alan, Rocco, and my situation, there are people that just don't believe that exists. And I think you hit a little bit of a nerve, not a nerve, but like on point in saying that, okay, well, we just don't experience it, so that can contribute to our
That's a big reason.
our nativity
It's not in
or
our
ignorance,
awareness.
but if Rocco, Alan, and I don't experience, but I feel like we definitely can understand. It's almost like, I might not see it, I might not experience, but I absolutely believe that it's there.
Yeah.
what I don't really know. What is the difference between us and them then?
The idea between, like, the difference, I would say, is that you are open-minded enough to understand that experiences exist in the world that aren't your own.
Right.
And I feel a lot of people don't have that ability or refuse to, like, get there. And that's a very immature thought process, thinking that how you were born is the way that everyone else was born. And I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to even look around and say, okay, if me and Clay are standing next to each other, like, we're not the same. Like, this is like Sesame Street level shit, guys. Like, we're not, you know, like, we are different people. So chances are, based on the fact that Clay and I are inherently different, we probably experience life a little different, right?
There's there's a perspective out there in the United States that's, it is like, in the 60s and the 70s we were doing our equal rights movements, and there is some like I'm saying, it's a thought process that's being perpetuated that's incorrect. That's saying that the playing field's now level, and they believe the work is done, the playing field's level. So what do you got to bitch about? You know, and it's not the case. It's not true whatsoever. But that's that ignorant side doesn't have the ability to, like you were saying, put themselves in other people's shoes or know that there is other experiences out there besides what they're only going through themselves. But they now think that it's all a level playing field, and that's not the case, you know?
Yeah, people
but I see that a lot out here.
That laws passed equal action done, and that's not the case. Like, for instance, there's a law passed that you can't pay a woman less than you pay a man, but it's already been proven through multiple scholarly studies that you can actually look up that if you present a resume to someone with a male name on it, and you present that exact same resume to someone with a female name on it, and they brought them both in for an interview, they're offering the female less for the exact same position for the same skills and everything. And same with, you know, in terms of, you know, gay rights or racial issues or whatever. Like, it's illegal to do these things, but people will do what they want to do.
What was the name that you said people, like, you joked around that, like, how to pronounce your name? Rachel, instead of Rachel, was like Rachael.
It's Rachael, Raquel, Rochelle.
Right.
Like, it's all kinds of things.
And same studies, like, statistically would say, like, a David or a Frank resume would get pushed up a lot higher than a Rochelle if it was pronounced or spelled that way or whatever.
I think most people assume that I'm white. When they talk to me on the phone or they see my resume or things like that, they assume that I'm white. And so I've actually gone into interviews and people have taken a step back. Like, they weren't expecting it because it's expected, especially as a black woman, which is weird because black women are statistically now the highest percentage of college educated people, like above everyone else. Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
But we're still perceived as very much like of a lower education level and lower standards for everything. And so when they see a black woman come in who's well-spoken and, you know, you had this list of credentials, whatever, they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm confused. And, and so it's like, it's an idea. That kind of goes with the privilege thing, and that they think these bad things. And now I have to carry that weight around with me every day because I have to deal with people thinking, you know, I'm stupid just because I am black and a female and from a poor family, basically.
Right.
So there's a lot there with privilege. And with privilege, I think a lot of people forget that, like I said, there's like nuanced, like kind of small things. Like one of my kind of favorite ones to bring up with people is just being like catering to your given genders, like your biological genders stereotypes, basically. Like, that's a privilege. You know, and that's something that I have experienced a lot of recently, and I've been kind of documenting it on my Facebook, which kind of cracks my friends up. I like to try to find a way to bring comedy or, you know, kind of some lightheartedness into educating people about inappropriate topics. I feel like that's a good way to go about it. I'm definitely like a ball buster, but I'm also like a good person and like a jokester at heart. So like,
for sure.
You know, I like to bring some comedy to it. So I don't really cater to like female stereotypes very much. I mean, I know, like, you know, I've got makeup on and like a little bow and whatever, but like I have a lot of masculine tendencies. One of which is I'm very much into fitness, and so, you know, I have like visible muscle tone, and I'm also very tall. I'm almost 6 foot, and so people have been, now that, you know, it's like spring, summer, have started to do that, like, oh my God, that's a man thing. And so like that's a privilege that some women have, that they never have to worry about someone thinking that they look like a man because they cater to, basic female kind of like gender stereotype type things. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Or and, like a man and you're a little effeminate, like that's another thing.
Yeah. Like, I wonder, and this is not a contest, but how do I put? I don't know. It just popped in my head that like I know being, I come from a place where I come from the Jersey Shore, basically. Like that show was my like no joke. That's where we went to the beach every summer. Yeah, and those people are absolutely, and the mentality is so overwhelmingly the majority mentality. So growing up and just like you better tan, better get big, better talk about women like they're objects and better use them like they're objects. Growing up and being very much like I just like one girl, like I want a family. Yeah. And being a little bit more goofy and not this like, bro, did you watch that UFC, bro? Like, and I was into wrestling and stuff like that, and like
my new haircut, like that.
Yeah, and it definitely like seeps through. Like Alan and Rachael remember me from college. Like, I definitely brought that with me. But that definitely, I don't know if that was me inherently, and it felt really good to escape that a little bit. But anytime I was different, like very nerdy into comics, like that was something that was like frowned upon or thought of as like being like too much of a sissy or like you know what I mean. And so. It's there, and I'm not trying to say is one harder than the other, but it's just interesting that that exists within men as well, because there are some sects of feminism that don't. I take a little bit of issue when feminism is so strong that it's all about women, and don't get me wrong, women definitely have it a lot harder, and it deserves to be noted, like Black Lives Matter does. But at the same time, I really respect and find myself aligning more with feminism in the sense that everyone is created equal, gender or anything, because there are certain things of the male side of it that really get like hit. Like there's a concept of like. If you're a guy, you need to be the breadwinner of your family. You need to be the white horse that constantly comes in and like saves the day and always has to like have a solution, and that sucks. And I guess in my own head, like why I lean that is because I don't want the pendulum to swing so far in one way where, now we do it in retaliation to men. But what I would really like is like, no, look. We need to make it even, but in the process, it would be nice to also acknowledge
But I think that's
that
the true meaning behind feminism, from my
in my
understanding
head,
at least, and that there's extremism in any belief, and that there's people who are going to take it in a completely different way. But I think the true meaning behind feminism is exactly what you're saying, and that's why I'm a believer in feminism too as well, because I'm a believer in equality between everybody, no matter gender, no matter race, no matter what it is. So that's why I would say I'm in agreement with feminism. Although I'm in disagreement with anybody that takes pretty much anything in life into the extremes. To be honest,
that's a little. I'm actually glad that you brought that up, Clay, because that was something that I definitely wanted to note, just as kind of like a 101 level thing. Since you said that the majority of your audience is kind of like middle-aged white males. Maybe you guys don't have as much education on this thing, but what I identify as and what I believe, and the majority of feminists believe, is the version of feminist to be, is what's called an intersectional feminist. And that is basically someone who recognizes social issues and, the levels of impact that it has on people based on every type of marginalization that there is, gender, race, your sexual identity, your class level, things like that, where you're using all of those pieces of information in order to, develop information and help somebody. So we're talking about men, we're talking about women, we're talking about gender non-binary, we're talking about gay, we're talking about lesbian, we're talking about straight, we're talking about everybody all together.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what intersectional feminism is. So like what Rocco said, that's kind of like what feminism is. And what you're talking about, Clay, is what is commonly referred to as white feminism, which isn't to be confused with like white people, though a lot of white feminists tend to be white. It's kind of ignoring those different levels of marginalization, and ignoring all those issues of, sex, race, sexual identity, etc., and only focusing on the issues of, basically like, straight white women, like the suffragettes basically were white feminists, and everyone's like, oh, aren't you like super happy about like the suffragettes doing stuff? Like not really, because like they didn't recognize I was a fucking human until like 40 years later.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's
so you kind of have to make sure to keep that in mind. And a lot of men, I think, are turned off by feminism because they see it as this fight for women only, but actually, little known fact, women in feminism actually fought for the right for men to be recognized as rape victims and not just women. And that was, and that's not something that a lot of men even realize, you know, and we work for everybody.
Our culture is, it's just like, you know, when you make your caricatures on TV or movies, it's like, all right, let's make a feminist person. It's just like,
it's like a butch,
hairy-pitted woman who's like, fuck man.
And
fuck man.
Right.
My picture days.
Yeah. So, damn, I was gonna say. Well, so the other thing that's interesting that I don't think a lot of people know are the different waves of feminism, and I feel like we might be getting a little bit off track, so we can go back on really quick. But like, I just think it's interesting to talk about the different ways of feminism, what they perceive to be important, and how within the waves themselves clash at times. I believe it's like the second and third wave tend to like not really like, I think the third wave was created because they didn't like the way the second wave was made and all that stuff, or like their ideals and stuff, because I think the second wave was like, look, we need to like own our sexuality. It was like in the 60s, and they were like, let's be very girly, let's be very like, let's be this gender. And then like the third wave, probably I think in the 80s or late 70s, was like, why do we have to wear lipstick? Why do we have to do blah, blah, blah? And so like they almost like pulled themselves away from that ideal, which is something that you were talking about, in that this like gender role that you have to fulfill, which is not necessarily the case. Like you don't. It just so happens that we've had this majority in the society be the way it has been for so long. So it's really easy to think that's what you're supposed to do and have that pressure, but it doesn't mean that doesn't make you anything less than what you are, right? So. Yeah.
When I consider what's happening now, personally, I consider it a fourth wave. I consider it, people a lot of the time think that this is still third wave feminism, but I feel like third wave feminism has kind of like done what it was going to do, and we have moved on to a new wave of feminism, which is what's going on now, you know, in current times. And I feel like the idea of intersectionality is kind of a lot more apparent in this wave of feminism than definitely it has been in first and second wave feminism, because a lot of that was just like
basic rights, right? Like,
yeah, just like white women do. I saw this illustration, which I thought was just like, you know, it like spoke to my life, where it was a black woman in the center, and on her left was a white woman, and on her right was a black man. And the black woman was in the center, being pulled to one side by the white woman based on feminist ideas. You know, these men aren't going to do anything for you. You have to stick with us, blah, blah, blah. But then on the other side, being pulled by the black man, you know, saying white people aren't doing anything for you. You have to fight with us. But yet he's shitting on her feminist, you know, he's making her feel like less because she's a woman, and the white woman's making her feel like less because she's black. And so it's like, you can't win. And in those other waves of feminism, you know, even up through the 70s, it wasn't included. Race and sexual identity and things like that, like, weren't considered as much as they should have been. And I feel like right now, in our age, with how accessible information is, and how, you know, just like more open-minded people are to issues, that a lot more stuff is being discussed on a lot more, you know, kind of like better levels than they were before. So
I think, see, in my way of seeing that way that happens and works is like by shining an awareness on it. Like we were saying, that we at least can open and understand that we don't go through everybody else's experiences in life. We go through what we go through. But by seeing what other people go through in life, I can now shine an awareness on this and start to see like how it could exist, or how it is in the world, you know, where I normally wouldn't have seen it. And I think that right now, with all the things that are occurring, you know, from feminism to the white privilege side to all these other things that are occurring, it's showing us, it's putting an awareness on this, and it's making us say, okay, you know, enough, we're just tucking that back and acting like it doesn't exist. We need to start to really like approach this and come up with a solution.
That piece is so fascinating to me, because if you look at history is always going to repeat itself, and it proves that like all these people who are like conservative or pushing back on these movements, they always fail. We always end up pushing forward, and all you're doing is delaying the inevitable. And if you don't look back and regret your decision to push it, the next generation certainly does. And there's like, white women couldn't vote and black people couldn't vote, but and that, like, that was the equivalent of today's standards of trying to get gender neutral people to use a bathroom. Like, people are freaking out about that, but people are freaking out in the same way about letting white people and black people, and now,
women.
And wow, that really killed America by letting them people vote. Let me tell you, like, so you gotta look back, like, just perspective, man. Like, look back and be like, is this really a problem? And just fucking let it go.
Do you think that she's less than you? You would be like, no, of course not. My wife is great. So then why the fuck do you look at this guy guy, or this girl who you are mad at because they were born with a penis and now are, identifying as like, why do
and they want to go to the bathroom, like in the bathroom, like
just let them go to the bathroom.
You want them to pee right here in front of you? No.
Yeah.
They need to go to. Call it a day. Like, it's not that serious. Really, what it boils down to is just like, it's such a simple concept, and people make it so complicated. It's just that every single person you see is equal to you. They are not better or worse than you. We are all humans made on the same plane, and we just happen to have a different mix of like weird chemicals going on that made you one color and me another color, and him like boys and her like girls, and they not have like any
association.
Like, they just want to like just let people be and let it exist the way that they do, and not make your life and your identity based around the hate of another person, which I don't.
And like that hate, I gotta imagine, comes from fear, like we talked about, and the ignorance, and like not being around it. We all kind of live in cities, or have lived in cities that have a large amount of culture. Like SCAD certainly had people from all over around the world. This wasn't like a university in Maine, So I think that adds a ton. And I always, like, my sister's living in New Jersey. I really wanted her to move out of. I just think that's important to like move out wherever you are, regardless of if you're really cultured. I think it just does a ton for your own personal growth and your perspective on the world. And I feel like the majority of these people have lived in the one spot they have lived in for so long. And, I can understand if you are, a farmer, or if you are like a mailman in Rhode Island and all you know is your small town, it would be really hard for you to grab perspective and an understanding, right?
What is it? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, the internet is everywhere. Like, you can easily access like everything you need in any part of the world.
But
like,
it still doesn't matter. Acceptance of individuals it's not needed to have to travel the world.
Right.
To do,
you don't need to.
You know what I mean? Like,
another person to understand that they matter as much as you do. Like, I could have never met any of you in my life, and if I walked up to you on the street, my default thought is not like they're less than me, they're worse than me. Even if I have experienced a bunch of shit from a bunch of white men, like, you are different white men.
Absolutely.
Like, I have to treat you as a different, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't take anything but like the right mental state. Like, that's not information. That's just like you being a decent fucking human. Like,
I was just gonna say, it's just morals and values, right? That's
right. That's all it is.
That should be basic shit. Like, come on.
It's Sesame Street. It's Sesame Street, like I said.
I'm connecting the dots, and I think that mental understanding gets tainted by subconscious habitats that you live in. For like, if you live in a place where your job gets like is for whatever reason just complicated, or like allows you to align with a certain easily, if you're aligned with a Republican, you're anti-gay, you're anti-blah blah blah, and it'd be really easy to almost join that team, right? And like believe in what they believe in. And I think it's about taintingness and stuff like that normally would allow them to be open-minded. I don't know. It's complicated. It's an intangible thing.
As well, guys, though, is that we're not naming on is education too.
Yeah.
So
see, no,
like,
I don't know
everybody's
if I
going
agree
to school
with
because
that.
here's the white privilege taught in education, right? We learn about slavery and all these different things that happened from the economic side, right? What does that say? That's just playing it down. That's from the white side. So it's saying like, oh yeah, we had slaves because they had to pick up cotton and they had to go do this stuff out here. We needed to have that. We get taught it from the economic side. We don't get taught from like what it actually was occurring and how it was happening, right? That's a white privilege. So this is a subconscious thing being taught. It's right, and this is starting to be built. And this is something that has been done. But a school teacher did this with young students, where it was white students, but she just broke them up between blue-eyed and brown-eyed, and she did the same thing. She said, "Guys, we're gonna have the blue-eyed just be. They're not gonna be intelligent, not gonna be capable of doing things. We're just gonna do this little thing. So today we're gonna act like that, okay?" So she's a blue-eyed teacher, and they're like, and the brown-eyed students right away go, "Well, how come you're the teacher if you're blue-eyed?" You know, and then she's doing her different things. She gets a little frustrated with it, whatever. She goes through her things and she pulls up her geography map and then she lets it go and it swings around because it gets caught real fast. And they go, "Of course that happened because you're blue-eyed." It's because it's like we create these things at a really young level. It's very easy for us to start to create these like privileges, and then just through the small experiment, it's not different colors or different races or anything. It's just different eye color, and it's like they can already start to establish this. So subconsciously, like, we learn those things through history a lot too as well. Like I was saying, the economics with the slaves, but also like we get the massacres of Native Americans kill the white people, right? We get taught that in history.
Yeah.
But we don't get taught about when the
Middleman
Mountain massacres, when the white Mormons slaughtered everybody that came walking on the streets. Why is that being taught? Why is that not being taught? It's like a white privilege kind of thing, because then it's going to be like you're now looking bad at the white people, and they don't want to do that.
That's the beauty of white privilege, and I feel like a lot of the time people don't really understand that, is that everything that's in the world around us is built on white supremacy. And I know that word, or that phrase rather, is kind of it's loaded. Like people feel like, oh, that's like some Nazi shit, that's some like neo whatever. It's like, no man, it's not.
No.
Like
it just means
the idea that like, you know, whiteness is the default. Right. And like history was written by white people. To be white is to be normal. Like if you have a show, if you guys were all on a show together, it's just like, it's a show. Yeah. But as soon as I come on the show, it's a black show. I'm the token character. You know what I mean? Like so it's just like, it's weird like that. And I like that Rocco brought up that that brown-eyed, blue-eyed example, because there was another one that I wanted to bring up where a teacher had students all crumple up a piece of paper, and she had the people in the first row throw it into a trash can, and all of them made it. The people in the second row, the people in the third row. And by the time you got to like the fourth row, the people in the back couldn't throw it in the trash can. And they're like, well, why can't you throw it in the trash can? You have the same crumpled up piece of paper that I do. Why can't you throw it in the trash can? Well, I'm way further back. Okay, so what? We have the same paper. We're the same age. We're all basically the same. But it's like, because you have that privilege where you were already put ahead of me before I even fucking started. So of course, like, I'm not going to make it in the trash can because I have all
example.
And that's happening every day, where people are throwing stuff into trash cans, and the gap just gets larger and larger as you grow older and more days go by, right? Like it gets harder and harder to keep up.
So that issue with the white supremacy term, I think that it rattles white individuals wrong, is that we have been driven by our emotions a lot in our lives, and that like just bugs us from the emotional level. But if we were to pull away from that and think logically and with reason, like you're going to see that picture, that image, that if you're just like, whoa, okay, it does exist. It is real. It is out there. But we're so caught up in, oh, well, you're just not this or that. You know what I mean?
There's a term for that too, and that's called white fragility. That's a little vocab lesson. We can add that to the vocab list.
Rachel, you were so
feminism. Yeah, absolutely,
awesome.
Man. I'm on my shit today.
Yeah.
And that's the idea where like as soon as someone says something to you that you have this visceral emotional reaction, instead of taking what they're saying as like, you know, their experience and a sociological fact, you're too busy concerned about your own personal feelings and it being this attack on white people or your whiteness. And it's like, no, I'm just trying to tell you what it's like to be black. I'm not necessarily trying to attack your whiteness. And I feel like that's kind of been the issue with things like Black Lives Matter and with the All Lives Matter backlash and with the Blue Lives Matter backlash. And it's
the thing I cannot stand, that I fucking, my blood boils, and just when someone's like, well, that's racist against white people, I'm like, oh my god.
There's no reverse racism.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, shut up. Even if it is, it does not compare to the amount of like racism that has been gone on other races. Like, there's just no compare. Like, that's like you stubbed your toe and like, or people have been like getting the arm chops off. Yeah, and like you stubbed your toe and like, well, I'm hurt too, guys. It's like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
That I'd love to also define, I guess, while I'm being super informative, Alan, is the idea of reverse privilege or the idea of reverse racism. As angry as people like to get about that, those things don't exist. You cannot be reverse racist to someone. The idea of racism is discrimination, taking some silly idea about someone and using your power over them to enact that discrimination.
There is no power on the other side.
I don't have power over you as a white man, so no matter how much discrimination I could rightfully have, which is definitely apparent, black people can
not enough to suppress us.
I don't have the power to suppress you with it, whereas as a white man, you can take that hate of me as a black woman and keep me from actually doing things in life. So that's why there's no such thing as reverse sexism, reverse racism, reverse privilege. None of those things exist because the idea of the power is what makes those sociological facts.
It can only always be on one side.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, that makes sense.
It's still discrimination, but it's not racism or it's not sexism.
Because it's not going to keep you from living your life, whereas it literally will keep. And I think a lot of the time people in positions of privilege don't get that. They think that privilege, marginalization equals I got my feelings hurt, so I'm taking my ball and going home. It's like, no, my life is actually at stake here or being changed here because of this thing, whereas your feelings are just hurt because I said, I called you a honky. But like, if you call me the equivalent of that for, but like that's totally a different scenario. So that's an education that I wish a lot more people would love to have, and so that's why I've taken it upon myself with Intergalactic Circus and with just my own personal life to kind of be a voice for this stuff, because it's so important to me. I've lived this for 30 years now, and I've always spoken about it. But I want to be more now vocal about it and more public about it, because I feel like I've been given a pretty good gift with being able to speak to people about things. And so I want to get out. But I think say,
okay.
I'm sorry, Rocco. I will say though that it comes with a price. And I was telling you, Kiko, the other day that to do this, I've basically taken my little lamb of like a social life and a dating life out behind the barn and slit its fucking throat, because that's like what this is like, to live like this, because nobody wants to. I have cooties, like nobody wants to like.
Really? Now became that person.
Yeah,
that's like you stay away from that person.
Like
but you know what? I look at that as a filter to put a positive spin on that. You're filtering out people that just don't even belong in your life, and those that you won't even waste your time with, because what's going to happen is someone who actually shares your ideals in terms of the dating scene or whatever, like. They're gonna be like gravitated towards you, and you're gonna be surrounded by people who think the same way and believe in the same things, and that's just in the long run way better.
So I just wanna call it.
There's so much to ask.
Yeah,
exactly. So one thing you were saying about like you're coming out and you're speaking out about that, and I think that it's great that you're doing that. But I think that the individuals that need to do that a lot more too are the white individuals. The white, it's like I was talking about last week. Okay, there was a DJ I listened to talking about cops, and he's like, there's these bad cops that are out there doing this stuff. Just the same as if there was a DJ out there saying bad stuff and rambling about bad stuff, me being a good DJ would speak up about that. I would say something about that. And with the bad cops out there, we all know that there's good cops, but they're not speaking out about it. And if they're not speaking out about it, they're put in the same basket that they're co-signing it. Same thing with the white supremacy side or the other things that are happening. It's that means that we as the white individuals need to be the ones that have the largest voice in this fight right now, because that says that you're not going to put us all in the same basket. We are going to be saying that there is something wrong here. We see it, we acknowledge it, and we're going to be fighting for it too.
We're going to call our friends out on this stuff, because a lot of the time people let this stuff go, and they don't I actually just had this kind of an argument about this with a good friend of mine, where he didn't understand that it made him just as racist to co-sign on someone else's racism. If you don't call them out in the way that they need to be called out about this stuff, you are basically giving them a pass to continue to do it, which really just says, I'm okay with you doing this or saying this, or I'm going to sugarcoat it for you, or I'm going to make it seem like it wasn't as bad as that, and it's like, no, you have to speak out. And especially, like you said about the DJ, use your position of power, be it, your position of power as just being a straight white male, so you're kind of on top of society, or using your power as a politician, as a celebrity, as some sort of whatever. Use that position to educate people in the right way, because that stuff
or a podcast
you have or a podcast. Exactly.
But it's true, right? Because a lot of times when you point that stuff out to people, a lot of people might be timid about doing it because they're worried, oh my god, I'm going to offend this person. But I guarantee you, maybe like 9 times out of 10, that person just has no idea. They're just ignorant of the fact, and you're just educating them to like understand that, and they're just like, holy crap, I've been going my entire life and I had no idea that this is the way things were. Like now I actually like have some of the light shed on me.
Like you said, you're not trying to attack them on someone's Facebook.
Of bringing it up, because like you and I have talked about this all the time. It's like you don't want to be like afraid. You're like, oh crap, I don't want to come off as that person that's always calling people out, or always like telling people they need to be doing this thing. Like I'm more righteous than somebody else. It's just like, no, like, hey, by the way, like this is a thing.
I feel like I have this conversation.
Moment. It's a teachable moment, and I feel like people need to take more advantage of it. And I feel like if it's someone that there are ways to go about it, and that are appropriate, and you don't have to offend anybody. And if at the end of the day you came correct about it, Alan, and they still were like, they're like, fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, they're just out.
And that's kind of what I have to say too, because I'm out here, and I'm in the South, and I'm in the rural South.
We're out here, man.
And the rural South, and I deal on a normal daily basis. I know I'm on a normal daily basis with 65 plus. So it's like they're in a generation of a certain perspective. So it's like, guys, I have this conversation often. I do.
Yeah.
When we talk about having to speak out nonstop, like I got to make sure that they know I'm not in agreement with whatever they're saying at that time, or whatever it is that they have, a perspective they have, and that doesn't always lead to good conversations, guys, or good like. Or I might be like,
Because you're sales, right? You're like selling insurance. So like if that happens, what happens? You just kind of like you're like shit. Like well, there goes my sale. But like at the same time,
where I'll like make my point and then deter away and let's start talking about something else real quick. Because if it doesn't, then I know that I usually have to walk out.
It would be really great if you're in a position. Because I know a couple people who are in positions with money financially. They don't need that. If they don't need the work, and if they then leverage that, where if someone comes off to them where they don't agree, they're like, I'm taking my work elsewhere. I don't need this. I'm out, right? I think Josh Whedon said it best. Was like, never go into a meeting that you're not willing to leave, right? That you're not willing to get up and get out. And it's really awesome. But a lot of times we are financially, we need the work, so we kind of have to work with that. But that sucks.
That's what I'm saying. It's fun out here.
Can I ask for final thoughts before we wrap up? Anybody want to?
Please start to see everybody as just equal people. Like, there's nothing different here. We all have the same. We go through the same shit. We have not that we all go through the same shit, but we all are here on this world in the same boat. We're all going through shit. We're all in the same boat. Let's just work together, and it would just be a lot easier.
Just recognize and understand. And I feel like one of the most detrimental phrases that people could use is, "I don't see color. I don't see blank." And the thing is, you need to see those things. That's the idea, is see me, see that I'm a woman, see that I'm black, see that I'm this, and understand that that is perhaps different than you, and that comes with some sort of value or some sort of lesson that you can probably learn from me, and appreciate that. Don't not pay attention to my experience and think that it's your own, because that's when the ignorance comes into play. Right. So open your eyes, see color, see these things, and recognize them for the value that they are.
And would you agree to ask people to, like, these situations are complicated. These are not paint-by-number situations. So all feminism is not just feminism, and Black Lives Matter is not just a bunch of people who hate police. And this, like, transgender is not just, like, a bunch of dudes running around in wigs trying to rape. Like, this is not as easily as pointed of.
Wait, that's what
like,
people think?
Well, I'm being exaggerated, but there's a reason why people.
There's men that are trying to, like, just get a free pass in the women's bathroom.
That is probably the biggest. Yeah.
There's like shit tons of porn on the internet. And stuff.
I know.
This is a real thing.
So I just like when you
real thing, guys.
With the things that I've mentioned that exist today and the future things, just before you're ready to accept any that one person who wants to represent this movement, must mean that everybody who's like, take a minute to really dissect it and think for yourself and just like do the research before you label a whole group of people as one thing. I think absolutely I would add, but okay.
Just real quick. Also, do you want to just say kind of like how we read the charts here as well? Because I remember the first time I saw it, I was just like, I don't know what's happening.
Here. I don't know what's going on. It's spinning in a circle. I'm confused. The way that privilege chart works, if you guys end up kind of sharing that with your listeners, is it's a circular thing. And what you do is you can pick any one of these lines, these kind of like diagonal lines that go through the center mark. And on one end of it is one kind of extreme, and the other end of the line is kind of like the other extreme. So like on one end, it might be male, and on the other end is female, but there's a whole spectrum in between male and female that you could fall between on that line. And the closer you are to the thing that is the privilege, which in this case would be male, the more of that privilege that you are getting to experience, and the further away from it, the more marginalization that you experience. So you can kind of go around this circle and be able to look at the thing that, check off all the things that maybe apply to you. So the word at the top, at one end of the thing would be the word that you would think that describes you one end or the other. And then along the lines, they all have a word that kind of describes the axis of privilege. So like, are you light-skinned or are you dark-skinned? And wherever you fall on that, you are marginalized or privileged on the axis of colorism. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yes, you can kind of read that, go through that. Yukiko and I, on our episode of Intergalactic Circus on privilege, we went through this just like piece by piece on each one of these and kind of discussed it from our perspectives on a lot of these. And obviously some of them were pretty obvious, where we fell, but then some of them, upon discussing it or even looking at it, we realized that we had privileges we didn't even necessarily think that we had, or we had marginalizations we didn't even necessarily think that we had. So it would be beneficial, I think, to everybody to just take like 5 minutes and just have a look at this map thing and just see where you fall on this stuff.
Gotcha. I mean, it gets so detailed. It's just, are you even disabled? If you're not disabled, like that's a privilege, and not a lot of people think. They think I'm normal. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but you're also very privileged to not have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah, you don't have to think about at all at any. Like, I can exist in my world and have for 30 years without a fucking thought about a handicap parking space, a ramp, any sort of like visual or auditory, like issues, or even like, mentally divergent kind of issues, or, learning disabilities, anything like that. I don't have to think about it. And so, like, it literally has not even popped into my mind a lot of the time. And so for me, it would be easy to just go, what's disabled people's problem? Like, life is easy. Of course it's easy. Like, I don't have to deal with any of that.
One thing I'm not seeing here is height. I'm serious though. Height, like
that is a advantage.
You do not.
I mean, maybe.
But which one's the advantage and which one's the disadvantage? Because like tall people, because like super tall people, like it can start to become a disadvantage, right? Like you're not in the bed correctly.
In some way,
can't walk.
Most tall people, I feel like, get more respected and feel like they have their shit together than a small guy. Because like maybe that's why I'm sorry, but like to earn people's respect, you have to do a lot more. I feel like as a smaller individual.
As a man, I think that's true. But then that also feeds into like weird gender stereotypes, because as a woman, I get shit on so much for being tall. So like, it's not really a privilege to be tall. It's a privilege to be male and tall, not female.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And attractive, Rocco. You'll never know my pain. Okay? You'll never know my pain. You
hard out there,
son
Rocco.
of a bitch.
That mug of yours.
You don't understand, man.
You'll never understand. You have a beautiful set of hair. Where's the baldism? All right, guys. Let's move on. We're gonna go to possibly a lighter topic.
That's what I was gonna say. Is it really lighter?
Maybe. It depends where we take it.
So let's just, I guess, like, I was going to talk about bad habits, but we can just talk about habits in general, too, as well. Like, whether they're bad, they're good, because habits are habits. But anyways, like, I wanted to speak about a little bit about habits. And, for example, one of them that I'm noticing in my life right now that needs to kind of get out is my Red Bull addictions.
Red Bull addiction.
It's
no joke. I don't know if people are still addicted to Red Bull.
It's like it was at one point where it was like every day, because I felt so drained. I've been feeling so drained. I'm doing things nonstop, whether it's physical, it's mental, just things nonstop, and children too. It's like all put together where I'm like, by 3 o'clock, I'm like, holy shit, I either need a nap, or I need a Red Bull, or I need something. Because
nap is not happening.
And naps don't work, because like I take a nap and then I end up sleeping. I'm the guy with like 4 hours later, and you're like, what just happened? Like,
or it's like dad. Like,
exactly. So I drink the Red Bull, and I've got it down now to like every other day to every third day kind of thing. And the way that I've been breaking that bad habit has been awareness, like I was talking about before. It's about being aware of when I'm wanting that Red Bull, or when I'm going to make that decision to go get the Red Bull. Being like, hey, wait, I'm aware that I'm about to go do that. Should I do that? And then sometimes I'll be like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going. And then sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not going to. And that's now made it from being every day to now every like other to every third day. And then slowly, as I keep working on this, I can see it going away. But as of right now, it's a part of one of my bad habits.
Yeah, and I can see a really good one, or a really bad good one, because caffeine is like pretty detrimental. And I've been talking about this a lot with my gym partner, because him and his other gym partner are like whacked out on stimulants, from from the gym and everything, from like pre-workouts and whatever. And I am extremely,
and all that.
Like I'm extremely sensitive to stimulants, because I've never done a drug in my life. I've never drank, I've never smoked, I've never done any drugs, and so my body is like, what is this foreign substance? And I take a pre-workout before I go to the gym, and sometimes I'll have a Rockstar, but it's like the 0-calorie one, so I don't get like all the sugar. Because that's like another thing about the Red Bull. It's a ton of sugar.
It's a ton of sugar. That's the part that I'm looking at too. I'm like, ooh.
So like you have to think about that. But yeah, that caffeine can do some real damage. There's an episode on MTV, True Life. I don't know if you remember that show from like way back when. But they had one of I'm addicted to caffeine. And so if you ever want to like check yourself before you wreck yourself on caffeine, check out that episode, because there was a girl that was drinking like so much caffeine that she was having seizures.
Oh my
God. Because she was like overdosing on caffeine. So like don't be that guy, Rocco.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, move to coffee or something.
That's why I've definitely I do drink. That's the other thing. So I'll drink a cup of coffee in the morning. I get my caffeine from that, and then I'll go get another source of caffeine later, like that Red Bull. Like I said, it's like every third day now. I had one yesterday, so I probably won't have one today.
Yeah, you gotta slowly wean yourself off.
But it's the caffeine and it's the sugar. So like I've and then noticing the habit, right? The habit I feel like formed for sugar from my dad. My dad used to bribe me and my brother with candy so that he could get alcohol.
Ruined you on that stuff.
Because he had a habit of alcoholism. So he was like, hey, I'll get beer. You guys cool with it? Yeah, I'll get you some candy. I'm like, hell yeah, I want some candy.
I can just imagine a little
I'm
Rocco
fucking
with a
six,
candy
Dad. You
sugar
can't
high,
make-
just
Yeah.
going
No
nuts.
decisions. And I've got Sour Patch Kids.
Mealy,
and I've got-
mealy, mealy, EverQuest, mealy, mealy.
I gotta have diabetes. Like,
I
just gotta have diabetes. This is a bad habit. I can't get out of the sugar thing. But no, but speaking about it, so I started looking into habits and things like that, and I've always been the believer of the old idea of it takes 21 days of nonstop over and over and over, and then you get past that habit. But a lot of the research that I was looking to says that that's not true.
Yeah.
It's actually more like 66 days of like making sure you're creating it into becoming something like over and over and over, and then it's actually ingrained in the brain at that point. And the reason why habits are even kind of exist is because the brain's always about energy efficiency, and to make a decision outside of the norm is now taking more energy to create that decision. So it likes to go down the path of just the stuff that's easy, it's efficient.
That's fascinating.
Which is decisions that you've already made before. You've created yourself the habits, you've ingrained your highway.
Yeah.
Now to change that highway takes a lot more energy. So your brain's already working against you. It's already trying to be like, no, you want that caffeine. And you're like, no, I don't want the caffeine. It's like, no, go get the caffeine.
So then why are some people able
what we
to
do.
cut addictions and change habits
Cold
where other
turkey?
people end up, like, people try quit smoking every day. So a lot of people
Because
actually get through it.
I'm not a big believer in conditions either, okay? This is my take on this whole thing. I'm not a big believer in conditions. It really doesn't take this step to that step. You could do it overnight. Just depends upon your like willpower and your drive and your beliefs. Do I need the caffeine every day? I tell myself I do for whatever reason, right? So I drink it every day. But if I didn't believe that, maybe I'd start changing that, like a little bit sooner than later. I'd stop identifying with it. You know what I mean? And when I identify with it, I put more awareness on it, more focus on it, more this or that, and it leads it to become a part of my reality. You know, where I think I could choose differently. I just don't overnight. Like, it's
You're a
just part of that,
goal-oriented
like-
person, so I think that helps with any willpower that you might have, small or
You're doing
big.
what?
You're a goal-oriented person, right?
Oh,
So
yeah,
that combined
exactly.
with willpower
Yeah.
allows you to set certain milestones that you really like to achieve, right?
I think that's important though, because if you don't have the goals, it's like it hinders the drive.
Yeah,
You start to like lack that wanting to go do it, because now it feels like, why the fuck am I doing this? You don't have that painted picture of why you're doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it could take 3 years to get where you want to go, but those 3 years might suck. And if you're not thinking about the end game, you might give up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time, specifically with like substance addictions and stuff too, it is a huge component of willpower and just like wanting it. But also depending on the substance and depending on the the physiology of some people's bodies, like you can get addicted. Caffeine is one of the most addictive substances in the world, and so is sugar. Almost, I think I was reading things that said it's more addictive than things like heroin and meth even. So think about it. Most people, the majority of people are addicted to caffeine. They have to have coffee
absolutely.
every day, and some like outrageous amount of it too. So like it's when it comes to actual like thought processes of habits, or like you just deciding if you're going to go to the gym, is that going to be a habit, or like a caffeine addiction. Like those two things are on like slightly different, I would say, like wavelengths, but it is really a lot about mental, because even if your body doesn't want you to do this
You can
thing,
still
you have to override it.
So talking about the gym, like you were just saying, like I've been through that. I've been in times where it's like I was out of the gym and then all of a sudden I was just like next day and every day from here on out, and I did. And then there's times like right now where it's like I'll get in there on the Monday and I'm like, I think I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna be on the road.
I've hit that days so many times.
We're talking about the same topic. It's just that change of the mental upstairs where it doesn't want it to happen overnight, and I don't want to be doing it every day.
Yeah.
And because I don't really want it, I'm not gonna make it.
You want to
happen.
play Smite. Or
I want to
League.
play Smite instead. Play video
But I
games.
think that what you said, Rocco, is awesome in a way, because you're putting yourself, like you're giving yourself another habit of checking your habit. You know what I mean? Like you'll say, do I want to actually engage in this habit? So like you've now formed that habit of like double checking yourself.
Alan just had a light bulb go on. He was
No,
like,
that's
Did you have,
totally
like,
how I
a day
feel though,
off?
because I'm like, I like before, like a day, I'll be like, okay, I need to go do this thing, I need to go do this thing, and then when it gets to that point, I don't do that second check. I'm just like, yeah, but I'm here now, so I better just do this other thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is way easier to do. Because I was just thinking when we were talking, I was like, okay, I gotta go to the gym at 11. Like, I gotta go do this thing today. But I'm just like, man, I better be really committed to doing this. If otherwise, I'm just gonna. Rocco's gonna be like, okay, I'm getting on Smite. Like, so who else wants to join? I'll be like, me.
Damn, I'm getting on Smite.
No, let me play games too. I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to go to the gym. No.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Peer pressure is another thing that affects it.
Checking your habits. Yeah.
Yeah, peer pressure.
That's
but
really
like,
good.
I don't know.
Really
what would you call it? It's not peer pressure, but the idea of other people having fun.
I mean, just sticking to what you're like set out to do. Really, I mean, like just check your habits, like Rachel said. I think is just
and the reason why I guess I do that is because I look at a life like the book where you could always choose which direction you wanted to go down. You know what I mean? And I look at it like that. So it's like if you're not being conscious of every choice you're making, then you're being led by who knows what's going on. You're just like your other past habits that you might not want to have. You know what I mean? So
or
if you
other people's influences or whatever have you.
Whatever
they're certainly not like your own.
Not your own choice. It's not your own choice right there at that moment. So it's like and that's a difficult one to be honest. But when you can start to do it, I think you start to control your life.
Yeah,
like what's speaking your outcome.
It gives you a superpower to be able to like overcome that stuff, right? Like,
and I think a lot of times like people don't like control. Like I've found that when I have conversations with people, like because I don't drink or smoke or they're like, how do you do it? How do you do it? I'm like, I just literally like don't have an interest in it. They're like, I could never. And it's like, why? It's you choose it, and that's fine if you choose it. But they act like they're out of control of their body, and it's like they like the idea that like there's some external force that's influencing things, and like they're not responsible. Like it's something else, and it's like, no, man, you gotta own your shit, man.
It's
like,
it's the fact of being able to do something without having the responsibility, which is really powerful. I mean,
and like I hate that. I am so annoyed by people who act like that. Like,
I gotta admit, I loved it in college because we could do whatever we want without any responsibility. Really,
it's like, oh well, I'm in college.
Yeah, but like, but also we didn't have a job. We just got to have fun. Like, pew, pew, pew. So there's a little bit of that, but I think generationally, I don't want to put an us versus them, but I feel like the baby boomer generation has a lot of that where, I don't know, a lot of stuff was paid for them, and they like got to be able to like benefit from a lot of the work that was done from the previous generations, and so it's kind of hard for them to see us try to change what they were considered normal. So I don't know. I think in terms of control and responsibility, they don't necessarily. I think what I'm trying to say. This is a stretch a little bit, but what I'm trying to say is I think a lot of things of how you do things were set for them. This is the way marriage is. This is the way you get a car, you get a house, you get a blah blah. They didn't necessarily
question as much.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that stuff was there for them, but like our generation is a little bit more.
Right, you want to talk about millennials, man?
Yeah, no. I'm a little preview to future stuff.
Tell you what, that might be a possibility, bro.
Okay, I'm done.
Because we were the first generation to grow up with internet access, man, so we can question shit.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like you said, Clay, like don't want to question anything. Like people just don't like to question. They like to stay out of control. Like I'm very much like a control. Like I like to control me. I don't like to control other people. I like power imbalances like that. Like freak me out. I don't want to control anybody else. But I want everything that comes out of my mouth, everything that I do, to be completely controlled by me. And I thought about it, and I made that decision, and I wanted it. Because otherwise, you end up with like some shit you don't even want, and you're like, "How did I get here?"
Yeah.
You know, and like you don't know how you got there. You know?
Yeah.
So, like,
it's
people don't do it because it's just like it's uncomfortable to talk about that kind of thing too. So it's just like, oh, why would I even put myself in that situation where I'm uncomfortable with what I'm saying or thinking or putting myself in check? It's just like I'll just keep doing it the way I've been doing. I feel good that way. Who cares?
Like Rachel said, people don't like taking self-responsibility. It makes them feel uncomfortable taking self-responsibility for everything that's going on. Every word that they say or action that they take, they don't like saying, hey, that was my choice. Like I had a choice there to do it that way or this way or say this or that, and I didn't watch it and I didn't check it, and because I didn't, I said it, and I don't want to take that responsibility.
No, so I'm just gonna act like it was.
I'm gonna act like
weird,
whatever.
Like outside, like some ghost came in and like.
Yeah, exactly. So what? So habits. Back to habits. What are you guys' bad habits or good habits? So you were talking about the gym. That's a good habit, right? At least a healthy habit. But also,
if you actually go.
It could lead to a bad habit too, like the people that eventually.
The thing about my gym is that, like, I'm actually like pretty ingrained in it myself. Like, I like going now. But when I first started, my gym partner is actually my ex-boyfriend, which is like weird. Some people think that's weird. But like, we started when we were dating, and so like it was easy to just be like, that's kind of like a way we can hang out, because his schedule was like is like crazy, whatever. And so it was like, okay, we're going to the gym. And then now, if I ever get like off track, we have that relationship built where we can guilt each other because we used to date at one point, so we know each other's like bullshit and can call it, you know? So like it's good to have that like extra person that's just like, I know what you're trying to do and I'm not gonna let you do it. So like they check my bad habits if I'm, you know, like slacking or whatever. So
and that helps, honestly. That honestly does help.
Another person definitely helps.
Yeah, I mean that's why it's like really important to find a good partner in life too as well, whether it's a gym partner or any other type of partner, so they can help check your bad habits. That happened to me just yesterday or the day before, hence my topic. Like I got checked, so I was like, shit, I don't like to confront myself.
Was it related to Smite or was it related to Red Bull?
It was related to Smite.
Yeah, I figured.
And Red Bull, probably. You're probably jacked on Red Bull while playing Smite and got checked, and your brain was like,
like attack mode, use emotions, feel angry. I was like, okay, no, logic and reason. Shit, you're right. I feel terrible. Yeah. Like, my bad.
That's so funny.
I think one of my like biggest.
Damn, how'd you know that, Clay?
Because we're very similar. I have the same amount of checks.
I may know.
Yeah.
I may know.
I get checked. If Karina and Sarah were to talk on the phone, I feel like they could talk for hours about how we are very similar in our bad habits. Right?
I think that's true of like anybody. Like if you talk to someone's significant other, you know, it's just like they know way too much information.
They know way too much. Yeah. Way too much. It's like
you almost like want to just be like, no, I might have to kill you one day. You know,
I might have to. If you ever leave, you know you're gonna have to die, right? Like,
and you know, to like how to get to me on things. Like, ooh, I gotta take you out. But anyway, yeah, back to the bad habits. I think one of my biggest bad habits is I'm really bad with like wanting to keep things in a routine. I think because I grew up like having things very structured and not being allowed to have certain things because we didn't grow up with a lot, and you know, so it was just like it was regimented in like a negative kind of way that now that I'm an adult, like I'm gonna do whatever I want to do when I want to do it, and like I'm a freelancer, so like I can work when I want. And
it's amazing how that ripples into your.
Like, yeah, like I look around and I'm like, I didn't do anything today, like because I didn't have like a schedule, and so I've been trying to like get that in check. Also, one of my biggest bad habits, especially since I run my business from my house, is like I will like start something and then like put it down and just like leave it there. And I live alone, so like if I don't give a fuck, like nobody does. And so like there's like a project over here and like this over here. It's never dirty dishes because that's like disgusting, but like, you know, just like a half of a drawing and like half of a sewn thing and like some colored pencils. And then before I know it, I look around and every flat surface in my house is like piled up with like stupid varying degrees of like nonsense. And I'm like, do I just never put anything away? Like where do these things go?
You're just an artist. You're just an artist. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
You have an excuse.
Yeah, and genius.
No, this is probably my bad habit. I'm like justifying it all.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think I read that messiness is like a sign of high intelligence, but even still, it's like unacceptable. And there are things in my house that I swear to Jesus has no home because it's been brought into the house and set in some inconspicuous, like bizarre, stupid way, and like I never found a place for it. So I'm like, where do you even live? Like I don't know where you go. Yeah. Like I guess you have to just sit here because I don't know. Like, so yeah, that's a huge bad.
I just have piles of stuff.
Yeah,
I just have piles of things at work.
Well, I do the same thing. My desk is like mad mess. Like I don't know how I know.
You know where everything is though.
I do, but like it's just a pile. Like,
I don't. I don't know shit.
Kiko, where is my super suit?
It's like I know exactly where my pen is. I had to like squirm my hand through my papers and my folders and underneath.
But if you had died or like were in the hospital and they were like, I need to go on my desk and like find this. Someone was like, I can't find anything. Rocco will not have this.
Yeah, he will never have it.
Life, he would be.
It just
dead.
wasn't. That's a bad habit too. I've got some bad habits. I'm not gonna lie. There's quite a few. And we talked about dirty dishes. You said for a quick second. That's disgusting. I tend to do that one. Be like, oh wait, my food. Dirty dish on the table or on the counter.
You're worse than Satan.
And then I'll see them and I'll do them later. Like I tend to like let them build and then I'm like, all right, this time, and I'll put on my headphones and go at it. But I sure as hell don't do it like immediately. I don't know.
One of my bad habits, I think, is being somewhat of a workaholic or taking on too much.
Oh God!
You know what I mean? Like I feel like I work very long hours. Like,
sounds like you're in a job interview, bro. Get out of here.
I know, but it's true, right?
My bad habits.
My bad habits.
It's like the worst. Never say that as a response to like what is your like weakest trait. Don't ever say I work too much because that is like I use that as a joke actually in interviews because it is funny how when people say that. But like what I'm trying to describe is like podcast like wanting to do extra projects, wanting to teach my own job that I want to work like 10 hours a day each day. Like I want to like do all these things, and I'll bring it up, be like, oh man, Sarah, I can make some extra money and like fulfill like a need by like doing a coding project, or oh, I can be an adjunct professor because they're looking for it. And Sarah's like, when are you gonna do that? Like if you do that, you got to take something out. And what are you gonna take out? And I'm like, I don't know, Sunday. She's like, well then when are we gonna hang? I'm like,
never.
I don't know.
That's what's going on in my life right now.
Right.
I've got everything from like the same thing, like growing stuff to the food to any and everything to my job and all the other different stuff. It's like, ooh, spreading too thin, man.
Right.
Yeah, that's a slippery
Honestly.
slope. Is like you want to stay busy and you want to have varied interests and you want to be able to touch on like all your different interests and like whatever. But then you realize that like there is a such thing as spreading yourself too thin, and then you're not good to any of those things. So now you're like doing everything at like a shittier level because you've like expended too much of your energy like trying to spread out too much, and like you kind of have to figure out like
it goes this extreme. Yesterday I was looking up drones again to get back into doing like drone flying. Like no, I'm not kidding. It's like that. It's like
For your
that.
Pokemon
Like,
Go.
Yeah, for your Pokemon.
No, not for Pokemon Go. Just because I love to fly and
I
stuff.
love
And I'm just
drones.
like,
I just love drones.
Yeah, it's Pokemon.
Guys, I just love drones.
Can
we
we
just sold a Pokemon Go drone.
Can we get a T-shirt that like Rocco silhouette of just I just
It's just
love,
like,
I
it's
just
like,
love
I just love drones.
Yeah, seriously, I want to make that. You guys can make T-shirts.
I'm just like, I love drones.
Yeah.
All right, any last thoughts on bad habits before we move on?
What about you, Alan? I don't think you said any bad.
No, I just have too many. I was just kind of ashamed.
No, man, no. You were
No,
saying
because like everything you guys are saying, like I do all those things. I think definitely not following through on a plan. Bad habit is not being organization. So like just kind of like flowing through the day, like letting one thing lead into the next rather than actually like sticking to like, hey, go from this thing to this thing to this thing. Otherwise, it just kind of like goes down this tunnel, this loop where I'm just like, okay, now I'm finished with work. Now I'm going to go home and like eat. Okay, now, oh my God, it's like 12. I got to go to bed. Next thing I know, it's like the next day's already started. So definitely like segmenting time to actually do all those things, because I have a huge list, like you guys were saying, of I want to do this thing for like, a half hour. I want to do this thing. I got to allocate my time, but I just never actually stick to it. And I think that's probably like the biggest thing that's really holding me back from being able to accomplish like a lot of the things that I want to do right now.
That's interesting.
Hey, and habits stay in place because of unconsciousness or the lack of awareness. So if you can change that, then you can change those habits, honestly.
And I noticed that because like I love to have like that schedule and like know where things are. Like if I put my keys somewhere, then they're one designated spot. They're gone. Like they're lost. It has to be that habitual place for me, especially. Otherwise, it just all falls apart. Yeah.
Alan.
Yes.
Alan.
I want you to give us your topic.
Okay. So this is a very broad topic, so I want to kind of keep it a little bit more focused. But generally, I want to talk about a little bit, briefly touch on the attacks that have been happening in Europe, especially like in Paris or in France. And then also, if you guys think that there is actually an increase in like terrorism in the world, or that it's just because we have the information so readily accessible that it's perceived like it's a lot worse than it actually is, or it's just always been this way. Because if you go and like look through some of just like a Wikipedia article, you've seen that this has pretty much been going on like almost yearly basis for like since long before the internet started. But there's like this crazy fear all the time that like like the Muslims are taking over, or like the
world's going to hell,
like, the Arab world or something.
But
so I just
statistically,
want to get your guys' perspectives on that side of it, and then just also kind of just reactions on what you think should be done and how you think Europe might change based on what's been going on over there, because a lot of people are concerned that what's been happening in France is going to lead to a leader being put into power that's similar to somebody like a Donald Trump, who's just extremely ignorant, because they just people are going to be so scared and terrified. They just want to turn to somebody who just like is so radical and extreme that they end up in like a worse spot and end up having somebody more like dictatorish.
That's what I was hearing too. So I have a question for you. Was the person that performed that attack in Nice, was he labeling himself from ISIS? Was that being promoted that way through the media?
No,
right?
Apparently, like ISIS claimed responsibility, but it seems like because they have such strong social media presence, they always know when these things happen, and then they claim responsibility. I think just to kind of put their umbrella over everything, just kind of
I was going to say
their own
too,
agenda.
Because like a lot of stuff that I was researching and finding out about the attack is that the guy was completely non-religious, like in almost every way. Like if it was going to be done and he was the one that accomplished it, it was like because of hate in some way or anger in some way or another.
From what I understand, he
not so much a religious act.
He was super upset, and I think he was mentally unstable.
Yeah,
and I think that's really just drove him to that breaking point.
To cause the act.
Yeah, I don't think he had anything to do with ISIS. Even the Orlando shooting.
Yeah, the Orlando shooting guy, like he said, I came from ISIS, but really it just seemed like from kind of learning the background, he was a repressed, like homosexual man who was like grew up in a specific culture where that was like worse than anything possible, and he had to kind of get an outlet somewhere.
So I guess why I'm saying this is because then to me it kind of seems like stories get turned to push agendas. To me, so like,
absolutely.
I think that right now the use of terrorism being like in our faces so much is because of that reasoning, because of like looking to try to push agendas in certain directions, like whatever that be. But I think that's why we're kind of, like you were saying, it's existed. It's always been around. But why is it be so much? Why is it since 2001, the Twin Towers event, been like in our face every day, always? You know what I mean? Like
because they know that can sell something or that can push something or
so it exists. It's out there. Things are happening. So now everything's being labeled underneath the idea of terrorism, and the idea of terrorism can never be killed. Right, so it's just that never-ending enemy, villain, whatever you want to call it.
And it's just like vague cloud that you can kind of put over anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, you can call anything terrorism, and it'll have that like visceral reaction that people have, and you'll get what you want out of it.
Yeah, you get like that mental image of like a guy in like a black mask with like an AK-47 like shooting everybody. But like then they're like, if it's like this white dude, that shoots up, Planned Parenthood,
like,
they don't call it terrorism. It's just a mentally unstable guy. So like whenever they put terrorism, you immediately see like a brown person doing stuff, not like a white dude doing stuff. It's so funny because like I was
stop pushing that agenda, and like Rachael said, and it's unfortunate that they use something so damaging as like people being afraid for their lives to kind of like sell a thing. But like being from Chicago, which is like basically the murder capital of the United States, everyone's like, oh my God, how do you live? And it's like I don't fear being killed every day of my life. Like the murders are all centralized in gang, like very high gang areas. That's where a lot of that comes from. But yet the idea that Chicago is in a state of terror is this like media thing that's like being
and it's a media thing that's exactly. It's like skewing the facts to make them work in their favor for whatever reason they need, right? And if it needs to be that it's the murder capital of whatever, then that's what they're going to push, and they're not going to tell you about all the other little things. It's a gang on gang. It's only located in this area. Anything else is not a problem or whatever it be. It's like that is an issue. I think like it's not being addressed really either. Like not many people are. I mean, some people are getting upset about it, but it's not like it's. I don't know. It's not on the scale I think it should be, because a lot of us get our information about what happens around the world through the news. So if we're getting skewed information, then none of us are making good educated decisions or even have the right to have an opinion on any of this, because it's like they're not getting the facts.
And I feel like a lot of the actual facts of the case, like, this thing with Nice, France, or even the Orlando shooting or whatever, it's like to put it under that broad umbrella of terrorism, you're ignoring the actual like nuances of the issues and like what actually may be the issues of the people, the individuals, and like what happened and what was their mental state and what was their issue and why did they do it. You just want to attribute it to this general idea of terrorism, and then when people hear terrorism, all they hear is Islam, Muslim, brown, and then that's just like furthering that hate, which is I feel is like that's the only agenda, because otherwise why not focus on these things as individual attacks? And if you find that 2 or 3 of them are related, great. Now that'll help you solve what's going on. But they don't even do that. They just, as soon as they hear an attack happens, it's like, oh, it's terrorism, lump it in with all the other terrorists.
Well, because it's like the news media outlets, it's like the first person to say something real quick is the guy that wins. Especially if he gets it right. You know what I mean? Like, he could throw whatever bullshit he wants against the wall. If it sticks, he just won. You know what I mean?
Is that also our brain? Because our brain likes to compartmentalize things. That's just how it's wired, right? It wants to like distill things down to its simplest form. Is that just like subconsciously the thing that we like? Yes, it's easy to have clickbait in media and be like, oh, it's terrorism and it's ISIS. We're getting more views. But is it also just easy from a human standpoint to fall into that, be like, yeah, ISIS. That's all I see. I see it from the top level. It's really hard for me to go any deeper than that.
No, because I think it goes back to what we were discussing with my topic on the privilege and the feminism and whatever. It's like, yeah, it's easy for you to just take what works for you as being in the position that you're in. As like an American, we're, in a position of privilege over a lot of countries in the world. And so it's easy for us to just assume that everybody's an asshole in relation to us. Or, as a white guy in the South and whatever, it's like you want to preserve your state of living. And so it's easy for you. It's easy. It'll always be easy for you to just attribute it to this other thing, this other person, or slap the label on it that has been slapped on it before because it's easy for you. And I think that it's done purposely. It's not done as just like this haphazard thing because people are lazy. These people aren't lazy. Like, this is a plan. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this stuff's being done on purpose. So I don't think that it's necessarily that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to just like throw out like conspiracy theories or anything like this, but I'm just saying, like, who knows how this agenda helps assist that guy that we're talking about, right? Like that one that's like the Trump version. So if you're instilling fear through this and you're publicizing it in any way that you want to, obviously it's going to help that guy who's saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes to.
I'm going to come in and save you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's what he's. That's exactly
you're
what
creating a savior. And it's not really a situation that was
to have a savior, and so if you have to instill this like grand fear in people, and then come in and tell them it's like a salesman, just like Hollywood. You have to give them a need in order to like let yourself
push them in that direction.
Yeah. Right, so you have to tell them how badly they need you before you can sell them your product, and so that's pretty much like what
it's like life insurance. You say, everybody's going to die, but at some point, like, do you want your kids to pay for it, or do you want to pay for it? You instill a fear of who's going to pay for it. Somebody's going to pay for it, and like same thing. You're going to push them in a direction, push them into a decision.
Alan, you're.
And I bet you, these kind of leaders are just like and they see like a new attack happen, and they're just like, like kind of almost celebrating because this is another time they can push their agenda. Like Donald Trump tweeted right after the Nice attack. He said, "Again, France is plunged into horror. Thoughts for the victims. The fight against Islamic fundamentalism must start."
Yeah. Who said this?
Donald Trump tweeted this.
See, and he. Oh man,
and I
had nothing to do.
I'm not looking at the actual tweet. This is just like a
paraphrasing,
a link to it. They have or just like a link from it. From his Twitter, but I guarantee you there's probably like hundreds of thousands of retweets and favorites on this tweet because people are just like, the mass hysteria is just like, oh my God, like, yes, and now we need this guy to lead us against.
I want it to be us, and he's
like
going to save us from it being us. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I saw Facebook posts of like, oh, I can't believe that sucks, blah, blah, blah. It has to stop. And in that context, it has to stop. I was 100% positive that it has to do with radical Muslims, but when you
or just Muslims,
right? But when you look at the guy
like
has nothing to do with ISIS. He's just fucking mentally unstable because he lost his wife and his family, and he's fucking going nuts. Yeah. So, and Donald Trump doing the same thing is just another kind of point and evidence to what you guys are describing. People just making something a bigger thing to benefit them in the long run, right? They're just jumping on it so that they can show.
To keep themselves comfortable, to keep to push their agenda in some ways, either to keep themselves comfortable or to get themselves in a position of power.
And it's once again that power that we're talking about. Like so many people are so addicted to it, and they're striving to make more and more of it, and make. They see themselves and there could be white individuals that are males that see themselves on a totally different pedestal than where we see ourselves. Like, they see themselves here, and they think that's to keep that going. They need to, make everybody believe their lie.
And that's why it's really important, like Rachel was saying, to identify the nuances and highlight them, like very, very importantly, because if you don't, you're actually just giving ISIS more power. That's what they want. They're creating an us versus them mentality. Everything you contribute to them is just making them feel like they're more in control, like they know what they're doing, and that they're being successful, right? But it's super important to not get it's also what media finally started doing. And like when there is a massacre, they don't necessarily will name that person, or when someone goes streaking, as another example, in a sports stadium, they cut away. They don't highlight that because that
don't give them the negative attention that they want.
Exactly, because more people will feel like, oh, I'll get on TV if I do this. And so by being responsible, which I think is a key word of like having the willpower to not take the time to like address the situation, think about it, and then be really methodical on how you approach it and present it, that will lead to a better kind of communication around the subject and less us versus them and less Donald Trumps in the world.
And I think that's the main thing here in reference to what you were asking in general, Alan. It's all about personal responsibility and like social responsibility. Like on a personal level, each one of us has the responsibility to seek out this information on our own and make our own choices and thoughts, and then, you know, live out those positive, actual, like, real thoughts in life. Like, don't use this as a reason to hate all, you know, Muslims or followers of Islam, whatever. And, you know, that's our personal responsibility. But then the media has its own responsibility, which it shits on a day-to-day basis to keep us informed of actual real facts. And instead, it's trying to push this agenda. And they don't realize that, like, if I'm trying to push my agenda on, you know, let's say you, Alan, and get you to do something I want to do, okay, fine. Like, yeah, I'm hurting your feelings, and that sucks, and I'm getting you to do something. But, like, the media, you're controlling large numbers of people and controlling the way the entire world works, controlling the way the economy is going to function based on these decisions.
It's such a huge power to abuse.
Right. And so, like, there's no responsibility there. Like, no one's taking responsibility for it. And if you point a finger at someone, they're all like, no, I'm just part of a machine. I don't know. I don't have these things. But, like, every writer, every newscaster, every whatever, you guys all have responsibility, but, like, nobody wants.
So I'd argue that like, it's weird, but the social media gives power to a lot of individuals these days, and like every aunt, uncle, son, nephew has that same responsibility about what they choose to share and like link. And I personally got a little like heated, and like we said, as an educational moment, to be like, look, this is not right. When I see something like that, I'm like, you are friends with over 400 people. You are sharing something that I think is like systematically wrong, right? And I think it actually can do harm to people who are not as educated and will take that as influence and start believing in it. And so don't share that thing, and don't just click on it as soon as you see like one word that like resonates with you. Really take the time to think about it.
You have to be responsible for whatever you're putting out there, because you are responsible for that ripple effect that happens.
Exactly.
That's social media. I agree with that too. But you know, like honestly, the large scale media is a big deal too. So like, yes, so because a lot of them are getting their information from that source. You know what I mean? That Fox News or the CNN or the MSNBC, you know, and talking about like responsibility for that, like taking responsibility for giving out, you know, misrepresented facts. Like during the Black Lives Matter movement in Dallas, the shooting that occurred, the first shooter that was announced on the news was national news was
the wrong guy.
The wrong guy. Right? Yeah. Right, the wrong guy. So now this guy's life is like he got that's completely irresponsible.
His
for
name
the
is
news
rolling
media
that
outlets.
forever. Like,
exactly. So now he comes back to his social media and he's got hate, you know, comments. He's got I'm gonna kill you threats. He's got all this different stuff. And then you know what? The police office, the police department, and the news media outlet, nobody spoke out about that wrong information to clear his name. So he's just out there in the world doing his thing,
trying to defend himself.
Right. So, and then the other thing is this: did anything happen to that news media outlet? Did they get any fines? Did they get any?
I just want to say, like, okay, so yeah, that happened, and the media was not the ones to correct it. Every normal social media users identified who he was. Like, not only was his brother, like, you know, trying to phone in and let people know, but like other people, like, using evidence from other videos on the scene to be like, hey, it's not this guy. Look, he's right here, like standing right here the entire time. And then once that finally picked up traction, that's when the media outlets were like, oh, hey, like, this was not the right guy. They didn't have a choice.
Otherwise,
when it was called out.
Otherwise, they might have just put the you know,
let him go down with the ship. Yeah, they would.
Whatever you call it, the bullseye right on his back. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's killed in that time frame.
That's not.
In
that's
Texas,
what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. So like when we talk about self-responsibility for the information that they're releasing to the nation, we're talking about 330 million people or something plus now. That's a big power, and that influences a lot of people's minds on what's occurring and happening. If you're telling me that guy's the one that's killing everybody, the cops right now, like you're telling me, and I'm gonna accept that as a fact, dude, somebody might shoot that dude.
Yeah.
He might die for he's innocent for an error in the announcement of their information, and they're not getting, like, there's no retaliation to them. There's no punishment for them.
And then the white guy that would have shot him would have then been able to use that as a defense. I had the wrong information, and he wouldn't have even been punished for it. I guarantee you that. And so it's like, it's just this like snowball effect going down a hill where, like, when you start this thing, you have to start it with responsibility and like truth, but they want to start it with emotion and trying to sway people and using it like it's a tool to, you know, it's not fact-based. It's never fact-based, and like I never know what to do, like in terms of the news and like what news outlets I can trust and like what I can read, because it's you have to read it knowing that
I have to like cross-reference 1,000 times to actually think is it semi-real? Like, is this actually kind of real?
First of all, did this even happen?
Yeah.
people that are involved, and then all the little like details that, fall into place as they find out about it days and months and years later. Like you still have to keep checking back and keep checking back. Because even stuff about 9/11 you have to keep checking back about now because all the stuff, it's like...
I feel like...
can't melt steel beams.
I feel like this should be like a 6th grade class that you take.
No, I think it should probably will be in the future, is like managing social, like how to check social media outlets and everything like that. Because I don't know about you guys, but nowadays when I see like some big national news event happening, I don't go to like a news outlet or like check anything like that. I look to like social media stuff and like see what people are doing, because there's always going to be videos, people like on the ground level, like giving you the actual evidence right there that you can see for your own eyes, right?
Yeah,
there's like what's it, Periscope? People will just start like live streaming right from where something's happening, and you're like,
live.
You get there, you're right there, and you're like, okay, well, why are they saying this thing when I can clearly see it's something totally different on this end? Same thing with like, like police officers in the body cams and like people just like filming that kind of stuff. It's just like, we're gonna have this evidence, so you need to like be figuring out how you're gonna adapt your news reporting when people can call you out within like a second.
I think that's the biggest wrench in the entire idea, in the entire like scheme of things. Is like the agenda doesn't get pushed so easily because it's so readily available for us nowadays to be able to get some of that information. Because everybody's got a smartphone now, and you can record. And if you're recording that situation while it's going down and it's being streamed to Facebook Live or Periscope or whatever it is, it's like you're going to get better information from that than you would from any type of news media outlet. You know what I mean?
It's interesting, right? Because I feel like the more people who cut the cord are going to be almost liberated, which is a way too extreme word, but like have a greater potential chance of not being influenced by that, by forcing them to go into social media to accept this, right?
Because you're actually getting the truth at that point, and you're not being like, fed whatever someone else is feeding you. And I feel like that's a reason why, maybe people of our generation could get hate on a little bit more by older people, is they're like, well, why aren't you just more like interested in taking what's being told to you? It's like, because we realize now that these things aren't true, and like they don't get that because they grew up in a society where like you went with what was told to you on TV and the news, and you knew that as fact. And even as a kid, I remember I used to watch things or hear things, even down to just like, stupid little, like whatever things, like you see it on TV and you think that that applies to you and that's the truth and this is the way the world works. And when you get old enough to realize all of, that there's like people out there who use these positions of power to like get what they want, then you realize like you have to question everything. And that's when personal responsibility comes into play, because you have to look it up yourself. You have to.
You have to do a ton of work on every single issue, every little tiny blurb.
It all kind of loops back. It loops back to what you said first, Rachel. Was like checks on your checks. Like you have to do that for everything. Yeah,
it's crazy.
So talking about that, where we like allow things to become like a part of reality, like that weren't really existing, like the engagement ring, right? I wasn't informed about like where that even started, how did it even happen.
Right.
So I
but you just did it because that's.
I just did it. Everybody did it. But then when you find out that it was like a marketing scheme that was it was started by DeBowers back in like 1920s or something like that, a jewelry company, and they like started saying that quote of you got to have 2 months or 3 months of paycheck to be equivalent for the ring, and they started promoting it through this marketing scheme, and then it became the norm, because before that there wasn't no engagement ring or any of this different thing.
And now no one questions it.
Hey, will you marry me or whatever? Now it's the part of reality. It does not question it. It is real.
That's the thing. You better do that thing, or you are failing at the thing.
What pisses me off,
not being like fact checked against each other, just allows bullshit to become a part of our life.
What gets me even more on top of that is when people are mad at you for not following that. A traditional marriage these days, people get so mad if you don't have a white dress, if you don't blah 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 blah, and it's like, whoa,
do you even know what any of that means?
Yeah, why we even had it? Like,
doing it?
Who cares? And then they get so caught up in it, and it's insane.
I got in a whole conversation with a guy about like women and like shaving their body hair or whatever, and I'm like, do you know why women even started shaving? It's because Gillette wanted to sell more razors, and so they figured, let's start acting like women's body hair is gross and men don't like it, and so now you guys have to shave so we can sell you more fucking razors. Like that's all it is. And like with high heels, like they were created for men to begin with. And then women started wearing them as like a FU to men. And then the men were like, well, now we can't wear them because the women are wearing them. So now our heels have to be thicker and wider. And that's why men's dress shoes have heels on them. And they started making the women's thinner And they weren't even a sexual thing until like a guy decided he wanted to photograph women only wearing heels as like a sexual revolution thing. Like, we are like men. Here we are standing in heels like men stand. And now it's become like a feminine thing. And it's like, it's not, it never was. It was all about like, and so it's all perspective.
Mind blown.
That's what I
But isn't it crazy how much that stuff stacks, and then when not checking, it just becomes the norm. You don't even know where the stuff comes from.
I think that shit's cool because then you like trace it all back and you find out and you're like, what the fuck? I'm believing this shit. This is a part of my reality. Like,
but then you're liberated because then you can actually have full control of making that decision. Right. Do you like heels? Because it's fine if you do. Just wear them because you believe in it. But don't do it just because you think that is like what you need to do. Like, make that decision because you honestly like it or want to do it or it represents something to you, right? None of this is bad that you're doing it. Just like, I don't know. First of all, don't get mad at someone for not following what you believe in, right? Because whatever. And then second, maybe take the time to like really do it because you actually believe in it, not because you're told to. It's crazy. Yeah. We went way off topic.
Yeah.
But that's
everything.
Cool. It was So
naturally flowed.
The title for that episode will be like Terrorism, Social Media, and Other Things.
And heels.
And heels. Yeah, actually, maybe it'll just be about heels because that was mind-blowing.
People are like, man, when are they going to talk about heels?
Mind-blowing.
Let's go on to our last topic. It'll probably be the lightest of the topics. It's going to be my topic.
Whoa.
Basically, we're going to play a little game of Would You Rather. If you guys are unfamiliar with how this game is played, I will present you guys with two choices, and you will pick which one that you would rather choose. It's really simple. That's all there is to it. The points are distributed. They don't matter, and they're completely made up.
There's points? Oh, no.
Yeah, I just decided this. I just decided that we're going to have points.
That are distributed. They don't matter.
They don't matter.
So we're going to do it anyway. That's the American way.
That's right.
Somebody will win, and somebody will
I wonder who started that.
So, let's get started. Would you rather no internet or no cell phone?
No cell phone.
No cell phone.
No cell phone. What did you say, Rachel?
No cell phone.
No cell phone.
Yeah. Like, I actually cracked the screen on my cell phone recently, and so I had to go back to, like, one of my, like, old phones, like 2 or 3 phones back. And so, like, it's so old that it doesn't support, like, certain apps. And so, like, now it just, in a way, it was great because now it's like, I don't even really need to have this that much in my life. Like, you realize how much, and now the phone is almost like annoying because I can't use it in the way that like I want to yet until I get a new phone. So I'm just like, fuck this phone. And like, I just kind of like forget that it's even there until I know that I need to make a call, which means I could just have like a house phone and it wouldn't really matter. So like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if I was out in like public and something bad happened, but like, how often do you really
I am terrible at directions. GPS is my life.
Yeah.
But I can't go out with the internet. Like, I need the internet. It's crazy.
Yeah. You go like, if I was on vacation in like the Sahara Desert, I'd be like, yo, where's the closest Wi-Fi?
Where's the Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
All right, everybody gets half a point for that. All right. Would you like Wait, what?
Wait, what? How is it the right choice or wrong choice? Like,
yeah, thank you.
Shut up! Don't question what you've been told, Rocco.
Okay, sorry guys.
Who are you? Rocco gets
half
taken away.
Here.
Rocco, you have a negative half point now.
Thank you.
All right. So, would you rather have no one show up to your wedding or no one show up to your funeral?
No one show up to my
wedding
funeral.
Okay.
No one show up to my wedding because I don't give 2 shits if nobody shows up to my funeral because I'm dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would rather have no one show up to your funeral?
Yeah. Nobody show up to my
funeral. And Rocco, you're the same.
You just said the other way. Didn't he just say the other thing?
Sorry, man. I was just like
confused the shit out of me, bro.
I'm so
just you didn't want to not the wedding, and then you're like, but you answered not the funeral.
We got it. Negative.
I think I would rather have no one show up at my wedding. I don't know why. I think I want my funeral to be like a giant party. Nick Swartzen once said like he wants like a disco ball and he wants to hire like random actors to show up just to be like, man, yo, did Clay know John Stamos? That's crazy. And then just like have like this giant party. So like
idea of himself.
I would love to twist it in that funerals are generally people are sad, but I want like a giant party in my so like people like the last memory they kind of have of me is like a really good time. As hard as that might be for other people, but yeah, I want people to show up at my funeral and just have a blast.
I know this is off topic. I mean, no, it's not really too much off topic, but
all right, make it quick.
So
we got points to
I saw
give.
a guy. It was a funeral thing that they were doing that was differently. The guy was not in a casket. The guy was set up as
like a puppet.
So
like
he had.
Weekend at Bernie's?
So he
Fucking
put his
weird.
leg like this, and he was chilling like this.
That's so weird.
And he had his eyes open.
I don't think I could do that.
Like eyes on. He was
That's
fully
not
dressed
what I'm
up.
talking
creepy.
about.
And the family, I guess they loved it because they were like, it felt like he was there, and we were able to like talk to him,
taking
say our
pictures and
goodbyes,
stuff.
do whatever. And I was like, that's so odd.
I'd have to
like,
really
I don't know
think,
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway,
crazy.
sorry.
Yeah.
Back to the whole funeral.
Rachel.
I was trying to decide. Like, while you guys were talking, I was trying to, like, I was going through in my mind. Because I don't really, like, if I ever got married, it wouldn't be, like, a traditional ceremony anyway. And, like, I guess I wouldn't really care if we even, like, went to the courthouse and, like, got married. So, like, it wouldn't really, like, bother me if no one was there. But then also in the same token, like, it wouldn't really bother me for a funeral either. Because, like, I've already had this discussion with my mom a bunch of times and she hates when I bring it up because she says it's morbid. But I'm like, if I die, like, I don't want to be buried. I would rather just be cremated and whatever. Like, I don't need, but when Clay was talking about the party, I'm like, that's an idea. So, like, I care more about people showing up to my funeral in a respect, like, if it's not a traditional funeral.
Yeah.
And I can make it a party, then I care more about that. But a wedding, like, no, you can. Right. Nobody else needs to be there. Like, you just,
I've already told my wife it's like shots at the funeral, and before you can say anything, you have to take a shot. You gotta, like, and it's got to be something positive. It cannot be anything else negative.
Seriously.
Gotta, and when you finish, you got to take another shot.
Everybody gets a point.
There's got to be a DJ. Like, it's got to happen.
So I'm at a point and a half. Alan, you're a point and a half. Rachel, you're a point and a half. Rocco, you're at a half point.
Half point.
Yep. Okay.
I had maple syrup one day on these.
Would
things.
you rather meet your ancestors in the 1800s or your grandchildren in the 2200s?
grandchildren in the 2200s because my ancestors in the 1800s, my great-grandma was the illegitimate child of a slave master, and so I don't really need to meet that guy.
Wow.
Like, no, I don't want to do that one. Grandbabies for me still.
Which would then kill me, and like that's some weird like indie movie shit. So like I'm just going like the future. I think that makes more sense.
Nice. Yeah, I would do grandchildren as well.
Wait. The grandfather in the 1800s was a pirate.
Oh, shit.
Off the coast of Italy. That could be a cool one. But I would rather see my grandbabies, like my great-great-grandbabies or whatever that be.
The Dread Pirate Rocco.
How cool would that be? Huh?
That would be cool.
Pirate Avellino.
And because you said grandchildren, you don't get a point. Everybody else gets 1 point. So we're sitting at 2 points for Alan, 2 points for Rachel, 2 points for me, and Rocco is still at a half point. All right, let's move on. World. Okay, what would you?
Cheating me.
Okay, this is an easy one. Piercings or tattoos? What would you rather
Tattoos.
have? If you had to pick
I don't
one.
even like ears piercings. I don't even have my ears pierced really anymore.
So
Like I just like
tattoos.
stopped wearing them. So yeah, I'm tatted up. I don't know if you noticed, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
got tattoos. And I want like a ton more. I want them like,
All over.
oh yeah. So like, yeah.
It's addicting.
Oh show.
I don't know. I want tattoos more, but I've told you guys this a million times that I never know what I would want to have forever. So I think I would go with piercings, just because I can take it out because I've done that already.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah, you
but,
used to
but I
have-
like tattoos way more than piercings. So
Okay, I respect that.
I'll take
Tattoos, I get 2 points.
I get both points.
No,
on
you are
both
not the
sides.
point distributors.
I get 2 points.
I am the.
I am the point master. Rocco, you said piercings or tattoos?
Said tattoos.
All right,
For
everybody
sure.
gets a point.
Tatted up.
All right. Let's see. Always know when someone's lying, or always get away with lying.
Always know when someone's
Know
lying.
when someone's lying.
Yeah.
You know when someone's fucking lying.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if I want to get away with lying either. Like I don't know. It's like,
I don't want to do that. I don't want to lie.
this one's hard. This one's hard. Let me take a moment.
Rocco already gets away with lying all the time.
Yeah. So he doesn't even need to.
He's a salesman after all.
Yeah.
So it's like, guys,
Shots fired.
guys, but I'm an honest salesman. I work through education, not through sale, not through like this pushy tactic.
Sounds like a lie to me.
Sounds like a lie to me. Sounds like a salesman.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, it is.
Don't use your double talk on me.
I would rather always know when someone else is lying because I enjoy having that. Like, I just want to know if you're bullshitting me, and then I can like factor my response and my behavior around it. Because I don't really make a habit of lying. I mean, everybody is like a white lie. You know, everybody does that.
Right.
Like, I don't need to like have that ability to get away with lying because I don't like I don't want to make a habit of it, you know? So
I
like,
think knowing when someone was lying, you don't even have to call them out. I would just use it to like fuck with them even more. Be like, so tell me more about that. Like, what did you?
So
do
you can learn to read their cues.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally. And you can play poker and be really good.
Just see how far they keep going too. Like,
Yeah.
I would just like love calling people's bullshit out all day. Like I would totally be like, "You're fucking lying, bro." Like, what? How do you know? No, I got the special skill. Like,
But yeah, that's good. Okay, everybody gets 10 points. That was really great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay, would you rather fly or read minds?
read minds. Oh, fly like a okay special ability. Okay.
What else did you pick,
I don't know
man?
why I thought.
Yeah, what
like,
fly were you thinking of?
Like I was like,
Would you
oh,
like want to be really, really
like,
hip,
or
like fly,
Yeah.
or would you rather read minds?
No, he wants to be like Jeff Goldblum and be the fly.
Yeah.
They go together. I don't understand this. But I'll definitely take read minds. Read minds or fly. Okay, fly.
It's a tough one.
Read
man.
minds.
It's a tough
It is
one. That's a
simple.
tough one.
Read minds is awesome.
No, it just makes me think of that one movie, Mel Gibson, where he's like can hear all the women's minds.
What women
It's like,
want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it's like,
concept
oh
of-
my god, wouldn't that get like crazy?
Rachel, I think you
Shut-
got muted by accident.
Did I?
No.
Oh,
No.
no, never mind. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Over each other.
That'd be like too much, wouldn't it? It'd be like a loud radio always.
Then you would have all the information that you needed to properly like function in. I mean, you would definitely get some information you don't want, but get a lot of information that you do want.
Do you like traveling, Rachel?
I do.
Okay, so if you can fly anywhere you want to,
Are you selling me? Right
I'm
now?
just
He's
saying.
totally
like-
sales jobbing you right
You
now.
can't fly everywhere you want to, though. Like we're not discussing like the intricacies of this like flight ability. Like we don't know how long you can fly. We don't know how.
You're telling me
these
you
wings
don't
even
like to go anywhere you want to at any
I
time?
said you're a fucking like jet fueled rocket, Rocco. Like you
Yeah, Rocco.
Won't you need headache medicine
Better
often for if you can hear people's thoughts
You can
always?
fly. You can fly, but only at like 0.1 miles per hour.
Right.
You can't do that.
All right, everybody gets a point. Rocky, you get 2 points. You did a good job selling. That was awesome. All right, would you guys rather find true love or find $10 million?
True love.
You would say that.
No, but I mean, it's
Heartthrob.
true. Honestly,
True
it's
love.
way more important in life than money is.
Yeah.
I'd say
Yeah.
true love too.
I think
Yeah,
I
I
would.
feel like I
true
could
love.
earn $10 million. I'd rather find somebody that I actually.
All right, everybody gets a quarter of a point. That was good. Let's see.
True love is worth a quarter of a point.
Love
Would
is-
you,
But flying or thinking of mines is 10.
It's true. It's true.
whatever.
I got my priorities straight, okay? Would you save a starving child or have an actual working lightsaber?
Save a starving child. Who gives a fuck?
Holy
Yeah, I
shit.
You guys.
You just like
It's a lightsaber.
you just like
It's a
I didn't know my
lightsaber.
moral compass could go like that. Like it's like it's just putting those
I would
two
save a starving child because he might make a working lightsaber in the future.
Absolutely not. There's no way. He's too busy trying to find food.
You don't know.
I'm saving him from starving.
Once.
Once.
Just
Kid
once?
is starving
Oh, it's
for a
only one
reason.
time or lightsaber for life?
Yeah.
Like I only give him one meal and then he's done and he's gonna have to find
You're
another meal.
saving him, right?
I feel like
He's-
that could change his life for the best
Exactly.
if I
If
did.
he gets a lightsaber.
I'm having a
Whereas the
lightsaber.
lightsaber, you're like,
If I-
If you give him the
own-
lightsaber to borrow, he can go out and kill food.
Yeah,
and be fine.
exactly. I might choose
But
the
you're probably
lightsaber.
just gonna
to
like
get
cut
the
your own arm off,
No,
and then
he'll be fine.
like,
I'll
whining
train
to
him.
your wife that you like
I'll
did something
train him.
wrong with
And
the
I'll be like, look, you have
lightsaber,
food now.
and-
Oh,
Okay.
that would be a good story. You give him the lightsaber, and then he ends up like killing your like wife on her way home from because she's carrying like KFC for you, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Fuck, I was gonna have KFC," but then he killed her for the KFC, and now like I have my life is in shambles.
Or you use the lightsaber to save all the starving children in the world because you have a freaking lightsaber.
Yep.
What are
Hey,
you
so
saving
really,
for?
really quick though, is it really only one meal for that starving kid,
Nah,
or
you
is
save
it
him
like
for life?
Rocco,
Lightsaber.
so
This
that
is
just
an
made it a little
easy-
harder? That made it a
Easy
little
answer.
harder.
You like kind of had your mind made up because you were like, "Well, still.
Okay, lightsaber.
Okay. Rachel and Alan, you guys
Stop
get 1
kidding,
point.
Save the kid.
how much do you and Rocco get?"
We get no points because we're greedy.
yeah.
No.
Good.
But I am not. I don't care.
It's
I want
gonna
a lightsaber.
advance.
I want that lightsaber.
It's gonna advance humanity as a whole, guys.
Would you rather know the date of your death or the cause of your death?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'd say cause.
You want cause? Oh,
I don't
man.
know. I don't want the date because the date I think would freak me the fuck out.
Here's my argument.
I think I would date. I would
I
pick
would
date.
want date because you have one thing to worry about, which is the date. Where a cause is, if you it's like, oh, you get cancer, you'd be like, man, why do I get cancer? Is it because I eat this? Is it because I go to here? Is it because I get too much sun? Is it because you would be a like freaking hermit.
if
Well,
if you thought like that, or you can just say like, listen, everything I'm gonna do from here on out is gonna try to avoid anything cancerous and just keep going on.
Or if you knew the date, you would fucking do
Or what
whatever
if you were
you want
just
until that date.
accepting of it? You're gonna be
Yeah.
accepting of the date, and you're gonna be accepting of the cause. You're gonna go, shit, I'm gonna get cancer. When I'm
If cause was you get hit by a car,
You don't know when that can happen.
You're not going to go by cars at all.
Yeah, you're not going to drive. You're not going to like cross the street when it's not saying go.
You guys are trying to sell me on some shit.
Yeah, that's why we all get 2 points. You get nothing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the because like otherwise you spend the whole rest of your life worrying, whereas like the only day you really end up worrying is the day that you're gonna die. And then you're like, how am I gonna die today?
If
but like
it was
you know
like a year out, I'd be thinking. I mean, even if it was 10 years out, I'd be like, oh man, there's so much shit I gotta do. And
it's like Will Ferrell in that one movie with Emma Thompson.
Will Ferrell.
Would you rather wake up naked, sore, and without memory next to Burger King, the king, telling you you had it your way? Or Ronald McDonald telling you you were loving it?
I've had both of these happen to me. So.
I would go with Burger King because they've got chicken fries.
Oh, you are disgusting. You are a gross human being.
I think I would go with Burger King just because Ronald McDonald would be way more scary to wake up next to than the King. The King would just kind of feel like the fever dreams continuing on, but Ronald McDonald, I would kind of like
waking up next to a clown who's like, you were loving it, I'd be like, oh, you know what I mean? That's fucking nightmare-inducing.
And like, I already wear too much makeup, so if like I woke up to someone who was also wearing as much makeup as I was, we would like covered in
just start fighting immediately. They're calling one!
Also, the chicken fries are a plus because you'd probably want to take me to some like, you know, like morning after.
Chicken fries are good, man.
What? Awesome!
And also, he told me I had it my way, and even if I'm sore, it's like,
you're like, okay, good. Like, I'm glad.
That's exactly why I went with it. I was like, I had it my way. That means that's good. If it was the other one's like, you're loving it. It's like, what was that?
I believe that. I don't know if
Is that your words or my words? Like,
yeah. Did I say I loved it? Like,
all right, you guys get a point and a half. I get 2 because I don't like chicken fries. All right.
Ooh.
Next up, rewind button or pause button.
For life?
Yeah.
Oh.
In your life, yeah.
I would go with pause. I think I would go with pause. Rewind, it's too much second guessing.
I like pause.
Kind of like knowing about when you're gonna die versus like being afraid of everything. I would go with the pause button.
I think I would want rewind just because that's how I play games. I'm like, load save.
Yeah.
And I like to do it the right
way. I like how I did that.
You fucking cheater.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Save scum.
Yeah, save scum.
Okay.
So you don't just live with your decisions.
I
like,
don't.
No,
I'm playing a lot of XCOM, so this is very relevant to me right now.
So the pause, you actually get to like kind of move around in real time while everything else is pause. Oh yeah, for sure, pause.
Pause for sure.
Without pause.
Too many good things right now in my life. I'd want to pause.
What's his name? Quicksilver. What's the guy from X-Men that can move really fast?
Yeah, Quicksilver.
Quicksilver. Oh yeah, that was so funny. I love that.
Yeah, that's pretty.
That was so funny. I love that.
All right, everybody gets 3 points. I get 2.
Okay.
Okay. Last 2. Here we go. Zac Efron or the Biebs?
Oh.
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron. I don't like the Biebs, and Zac Efron is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the Biebs.
I don't like the Biebs. Not really into blondes that much. I like dark hair.
Okay.
Also, I feel like I could have a conversation with Zac Efron. I feel like I would fucking choke Justin.
Yeah.
So like,
totally.
Like, what's his name?
He just seems like such a shit.
He'd be like,
yeah.
Even when he's being like cool or like good, I'm just like, you seem like so phony, man. So
yeah, I'm done with it.
And he's Canadian.
Yeah. Ooh. Screw Canadians.
I love that one, man. He's like, oh, wait, what?
All right, everybody gets 100 points. Alan, you get 99 because you're Canadian.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
Last and final one. Hakuna Matata or YOLO?
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata.
No.
That's Rocco, if this is even a goddamn question.
I've done the YOLO.
This is like a life changer for you.
I've done the YOLO, and the YOLO was pretty fun.
I don't even know you, man. I don't even know you.
No.
Rocco, you get -2 points. All right, let's
YOLO
see.
is too final. YOLO is too final. Hakuna Matata is just like
no worries, man.
Yeah, it's just like every day.
It's like so chill. You can say Hakuna Matata for anything.
Yeah. All right, rounding out.
But those moments when they were like YOLO were pretty fucking memorable moments.
I don't know what you're talking
The
about.
Hakuna Matata moments. It's
I don't
like
know what you're
everyday moments.
All right, coming in second place is Alan with 253 points. Next up in third place is Clay with 220 points.
The winner.
Last is Rocco at 15 points. And winner and new champion of Would You Rather is Rachel at 555 points.
Oh, 500.
Yeah. No, that's the math. I did it. I'm correct. So,
Okay.
It's like I win at this arbitrary game of points, but I lose at like social justice. So like the white men have
double-edged sword.
Yeah, you guys beat me in life, but I beat you at the stupid ass game.
So good.
Hey, Hakuna Matata, Rachel. Hakuna Matata.
YOLO.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been another episode of the Everything and Nothing Show. If you like what you're hearing and like what you're seeing, check us out on patreon.com/maelstromgamers. You can
I don't know how I feel about this still.
little as $1, and to help support us, which is always super helpful and appreciative. We put money back into the show so that we can do more topics that you guys care about with better quality and maybe more things or a new show. Who knows? But if you could spare that $1 from your coffee that you have a week, think about it. Send it our way. If you don't have money, that's cool too. You can always go onto our YouTube channel, youtube.com/maelstromgamers channel. You can subscribe to us, comment. You can also follow us on Twitter @maelstromgamers. You can go to our Facebook page and like that and comment there. It's all free and a great way to support us. A lot of people are doing it, and we really, really appreciate it. So shout out to all the people that are doing that. Also, you can check out our mediocre gaming skills when we're streaming on youtube.com. We're playing a lot of League of Legends. Recently, we've been doing Whispers, which is fun. Late Night Whispers.
Lie it, bro. Lie it.
We've been doing Smite, Uncharted 4, a little bit of Paragon recently, but I don't know how long that's going to last.
No, I'm still doing it.
So yeah. And then lastly, I just want to give a shout out and thanks to Rachael Ingram for coming on to the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're absolutely going to have you hop on again sometime in the future because it's been really fun and very, very interesting. Great topics. Would you like to plug anything? Where can people find your business and how can they follow you and support you?
You can check out my website is perpetuallyyoursPets.com and get some sweet animal-themed stuff. You can follow me on Instagram @pypets. Facebook is /Perpetually Yours Pets. Also, if you want to listen to me and Yukiko, who was a former guest of you guys, we have a podcast called Intergalactic Circus. You can find us on SoundCloud and iTunes, and also you can follow us on Facebook for all kinds of other interesting ridiculousness. It's Intergalactic Circus Podcast, all one word, on Facebook.
Yeah, so all those links will be sent in each one of these topics on our YouTube channel, as well as the full episode on YouTube. So you'll be able to quickly link there and go there. So check it out, guys. It's been an honor to entertain you. Peace and take care. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone in between, welcome to the Everything and Nothing Show. I'm just one of your hostess with the mostest, your friendly neighborhood podcaster, Clayton Kisco, and I'm accompanied, of course, by the rest of the Maelstrom Gamers. On this podcast with us today, we have the A-Train, the Canadian sensation, T-House, Alan Toner. If you guys didn't know, that's the Canadian dance for when you get pumped up for a podcast. That I don't know. I think that was just Rocco adding stuff. That doesn't.
No,
I think it goes just
some
like
guy in the
popcorn
background.
or something.
That was in the background of that cheering. There was always one guy, right? So like, I saw him.
And next up, we have the heartthrob. Every man wants to be him, and every woman wants to be with him, but maybe not really. Rocco Avellino.
I'm gonna say I might love last week's episodes if you haven't seen those yet. Ian's impersonation of Clay. He definitely laid it down a little bit better than at least describing who I am and my character.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
That was really good. He the beard I didn't know was fake.
So part of it was real and part of it was fake, like makeup in. It was good, man. He did a good job.
He looked good with the beard.
Hair back and all, and I was like,
he
should have shaved.
It's crazy.
He should have shaved.
And guys, we're also accompanied by a guest of ours by the name of Rachael Ingram. She is the second half of the Intergalactic Circus podcast, where you guys might be familiar with. We had Yukiko on not too long ago. And she's also the owner, creator, and what do you call it? Just
Resident awesome badass
founder.
Yeah, founder of perpetualpets.com. Perpetuallyyourpets.com, sorry. And that is, Rachael, help me out. That's basically your own website where you create custom-made crafts for pets and anything between accessories for pets, pillows. You do tote bags.
Very cool.
Yeah, and prints.
Actually, which is I think kind of like a weird, like I guess, misconception in a way is people think I make things for pets, which would be like really weird because like dogs don't wear tote bags, you know,
right.
or haircuts.
Yeah.
I make things for people who like animals.
That's right.
That's kind of like the angle of my business. And I guess it would be good if I explained kind of where I got the idea and how it came along. All that noise. I always wanted to start my own business. That was kind of my goal from the get-go because I just kind of don't like working for people. But this idea just like fell into my lap, literally. I went to stay with my best friend, Sarah. Hey, Sarah, if you're watching. And she let me stay with her like right after school. You know, when you get out of school, you have no money, you have nothing going for you. I was living with my mom, you know, for the first like week or two. And she was like, no, like come out to the city because my mom lives in the suburbs. Stay with me. I got a free room, you know, in my apartment, whatever. Like, let's just like have this badass summer, you know, and like.
What city is this?
Whatever. Chicago. I'm from Chicago, born and raised, and now I'm here still.
Woo!
Gotcha.
And it is awesome. You're right. So she let me stay with her for like months, you know, rent free, whatever, till I got on my feet. And so when Christmas rolled around, I was like, I'm gonna make her a gift because I don't have any money. I just started this job, so I'm gonna make her something. And so I decided to make her these 3 throw pillows to match this like super ugly ass couch that she had just bought. It was huge and blocky and like, a lot of money.
I know some of those.
The audio cut out, so for those watching, listening, Juju. It's official Juju that was used.
If you can't tell with the hand motions what that was.
Right. Or if you're listening to MP3. Anyway, sorry, so we cut you off. So you branched out, and then you started getting more clients, I imagine, and just slowly building?
Yeah, the custom stuff is always just like crazy, especially around Christmas. So that I don't think I will give up. And I've just started, branching out, doing other products. And my big thing right now is actually I'm working on my site right now, like rebuilding it, whatever. And because I just transferred over to a new, whole situation. I use Shopify now instead of WordPress, and I'm trying to do this whole
different host.
Yeah. And so I'm like rebuilding it, but I'm starting a clothing line actually, all animal themed stuff. And it's going to be really cool and funky because all my stuff kind of has a little bit of like a punk rock.
Not like furry kind of shit, right? Not like.
No, like
okay.
real human beings can wear on the street.
I gotta throw.
If it was what you were gonna make too, that would be cool too, Rocco. I mean,
don't discriminate, Rocco.
Yeah.
Now am I gonna be like a
phase out this video right now? No.
All right, so I was trying to take a stab. I took art history way back in the day. In fact, being a video game design major, I had to take 4. The style, I want to say, is like a weird, like a modern Victorian style.
Yeah, it kind of has that vibe. I have a lot of like that influence. I love really decorative stuff and like add little like flourishes and fancy stuff to it. But it also has a very like contemporary, cool vibe. Like it's kind of like flat design type stuff. I used to screen print everything, and so that was kind of the vibe that I had, like keeping colors flat, keeping very like graphic looking stuff, but everything also has kind of like a cool, edgy DIY punk rock vibe because that's just kind of like my deal. So,
and I get that through the layers. Like you have a 3D element in there through the way that you layer your images, which I thought was really interesting. So that's where the modern piece comes to, or like even I don't know, it's just like what is it, like art in motion where you see like things like pop up slow.
Yeah,
and it's just
and they sort of like cross.
That I don't know what that is. But like that's what I got from it. It's very cool. I haven't seen that been done in like this space before.
Like that 2.5D kind of style stuff.
It's just like when you're watching a commercial and like things just like pop up, but they're clearly like they're just like 2D art, but they're moving them like Flash,
like motion graphics.
Motion graphic. Yeah, it's got a very motion graphic feel, like snapshot of it. Yeah, which is really neat. Like I like that.
Very cool.
And with the colors and all, like, it gets very punk rocky. So
I have a small question. How often do people end up going to Perpetual Pet instead of Perpetually Your Pets? The one that's like for stuffing animals.
That would be amazing. I didn't even know.
When I searched for it before Clay said it was Perpetually Your Pet, I went to Perpetual Pet, and it's like this designed site from like I don't know 1991, and it's for like it's for taxidermy. It says pet preservation through freeze dry technology. And I was like, I don't think this is what Rachael does. Like, I was really confused for a second.
stuff did.
And yeah, I'm glad I went to your site afterwards.
You could probably just buy them out for $5 and redirect.
I was like, there's no way Rachel has a site that's designed like this poorly. Like, this looks like it came from 1991.
Crappy like Angel Fire animated GIF.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this one has a rainbow, so yeah, who knows?
Oh, jeez.
I'm missing out. I'm sure people do, and like Frankenstein green corduroy. Like I don't know.
Corduroy, nice.
What planet this couch came from, but it was ugly.
What era is that? Corduroy couches, like 70s?
She loves.
Hey, don't even hate on that. That might be nice. Like if you just.
What? No, when is corduroy ever comfortable on your skin?
Yeah, it's like
if you like drag yourself across of it, it could be like a massage.
No, like rug burn. I just envision rug burn and itchiness.
Yeah, and it was green. It was just like ugly. It was like pea green. She was really into like the mid-century modern stuff, so I think it was like some weird like late 60s, early 70s era like garbage. Anyway, so like I decided to make her these 3 pillows to match, this new couch that she got. And it was going to be her 3 favorite things, which were coffee and bikes and her dog Penny, which her and I had actually fostered while I was staying with her, and she decided to just keep her, and she still has her to this day because we just couldn't get away from this adorable, ridiculous dog. And so I made her these 3 pillows with the portrait of the dog and whatever, and she posted them on Facebook, and people are like, oh my God, where'd you get those? That's so cute. That's awesome. And she was like, oh, my friend just like made them as a gift. And so people were messaging me like, hey, I want a picture of like my dog or my cat on a pillow. And so I started making these custom pet portrait pillows. So basically you tell me about your animal and I come up with an illustration based on like whatever like wacky shit you tell me about your animal. And make it into a pillow using all recycled fabrics, and it's like kind of collagey, whatever.
I saw one where it was a little dog, and he had a bear stuffed animal and he was a ventriloquist.
Yes.
Yeah. So like
his thing was that he looked just like that bear. That was like his dog dad's like interpretation. So he was like, this is his twin. And I was like, okay, he's a ventriloquist. So they're like.
Awesome. Yeah, it was really cute too.
Yeah, there's one of my favorites too is a hedgehog that loved cardboard tubes.
And where do we find this again? You said where's
PerpetuallyYoursPets.com.
Okay.
And you can look under my gallery, my custom pet portrait pillow gallery, and see the ridiculousness.
Okay.
Yeah, there was one of a hedgehog that loved toilet paper tubes, and so I have a picture of like the hedgehog and the toilet paper tube like sort of running toward each other like a slow-mo movie, So yeah,
that's awesome.
I like to get silly with it. Like if I'm gonna spend hours on this,
totally.
So, yeah, I did that for about 1.5 years, and then I realized the pet market was so big that I was like, I'm gonna branch out. I want to do more stuff. So I started this line of illustrated dog breed pillows, which are a big thing. I illustrate the dogs dressed in costumes based on something from the history of the breed.
Cool.
Very cool.
So yeah,
it's like a Scottish Terrier would be wearing like a kilt.
Yeah, basically something like that.
What would you do for an Australian Shepherd?
I will have to research the breed because I literally will extensively read about each breed. And I'm like,
Okay.
What sounds interesting? Let's see. And then I sit there
gotcha.
and ponder what
I gotcha.
Good
But
use of the word
I got
ponder.
you, Rocco.
Okay, good. I hope so. I've been thinking, you've been talking about all this, and I'm like, what am I going to do for my dog?
My dog, yeah.
I'm like, if I'm throwing frisbees and stuff, what would she paint? Like, what?
Dude, oh man, could you do a frisbee, like a print on a frisbee? Because Rocco plays a ton of frisbee golf.
Yeah, exactly. That would be really cool.
Could you have a
actually.
custom frisbee with your dog on it? That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And
Or
then
that he
dog-
could tear it apart.
Or that he could tear it apart. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
In love.
Wonder
In
around
love.
Perpetually Yours merchandise where people who have dogs that tear shit up are like, they will not tear up this pillow. They love this pillow. I'm like, I
Oh,
put
really?
Yeah.
juju on it so that dogs don't
You
tear
put
it
what
up.
on it? You said?
Like juju on it. Like a little
okay, gotcha. You're like, hurrah!
Wait.
Yeah.
A little bit of that. I'm all about it.
And he liked working with me so much, and I told him about my business in passing, and he said, look, when you're ready to do anything that you could use my services for, just let me know, and I'm here. So I told him I wanted to do clothing, and he's like, yeah, just send me samples of stuff you want to do, and let's get started, and I'll make the samples for you. 1 or 2 samples of everything, kind of free of charge, and then you can promote it. And then when people start ordering, then, you can pay for the production once people, start ordering, which is unheard of in the manufacturing world. It's just not how it's usually you have to pay a shit ton in advance, order a bunch of them, and then just kind of hope and pray that.
Whoa. Because
Yeah,
you can go, I mean, that's a lot of money in the hole if nobody orders it, right?
Exactly.
It's a blind leap.
It's called. I think it's called like shadow marketing, except for the sake that they're giving it to you for free. Like.
Right. So he's kind of like doing me like a solid, basically.
Yeah.
I have to do that, but he's just like a super nice guy. So I'm looking forward to getting started on that. I'll be sending him a package because he wanted me to send him like an example of like whatever, like if I wanted to do like a mini skirt, like go buy a mini skirt that's like the cut that I want and then like send it to him. So like go to American Apparel or H&M or something and just like buy a basic cut so that he can use that to like make the sizes off of because he's in another country and so like they're like wacky stuff, you know, he's in China and so, you know, like me and Yukiko have talked about on Intergalactic Circus, sizes for things in Asia are not congruent with sizes of things in America.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, wow.
Very true. Yeah.
Right, so I'll go buy a small of that and then you can base like the extra small, the medium, the large, the extra large off of just the proportions of that, you know.
That's a good idea, yeah. Get around that.
That's the plan, Stan.
Cool.
Oh yeah,
Very
I've got
cool.
that coming in the works. Hopefully, my goal is to work on the line to be, you know, delivered to people spring, summer of next year. So hopefully the Kickstarter should be coming out early fall or something like that. I just got to record a new video and do all that fancy stuff. So.
All right, well, we'll definitely be on the lookout for that. And share it and tell all the gamers that you should check this out.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of the gamers will be interested, but
There's a lot of gamers that have
a fashion sense that would
Yeah,
be. But of our audience, like I feel like most of our audience are white middle-aged men
I think so too.
play League of Legends.
Middle-aged?
Yeah,
Maybe.
middle-aged.
Somewhere around there.
We're approaching middle age. You guys.
No.
We talk a lot. We talk a lot about
Stop,
kids.
guys.
And we talk a lot of.
Stop.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
saying.
weird.
I'm just saying.
It's real weird.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Anything else that you guys wanted to ask Rachel about perpetuallyourspets.com? Or Rachel, do you have anything else that you wanted to add? We talked about the Kickstarter and
We talked about my social media. We got the link to the website, and know that you need to go to the one that's got the cool stuff and not the dead animals.
Yes.
Yes.
don't get that mixed up.
Yeah, just don't. That would be real weird. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good overview of my old business here.
Cool.
Unless you took the real pets and you stuffed them and you made them look just like what you're trying to do.
I stuffed them and made them into a pillow so that when you look at
yeah.
carcass of your dead pet, like
Then you can take that site, merge it, and you guys are getting.
you know what I'm saying?
I'm down for it. It's
No.
like the best pillow ever.
I don't really
my
like my
carrot
Australian Shepherd anyway.
Might just carry a few ticks and fleas, but we're good.
Ew.
It's like the eyes all bugged out, and you're trying to.
Oh, it's so creepy.
Bad idea. Can't
That'd
merge
be
those
so
businesses.
weird.
Guys, on that note, let's go on to our next topic. Rachel, you're the guest, so you get the privilege.
That's actually why I was thinking of changing my site and also shortening it because it's Perpetually Yours Pets, all like one like long ass thing. Because my Instagram, which I can plug to, is at pypets, and so I was thinking of making pypets.com because that's a lot easier to remember. So
Twitter account as well.
Yeah, I also have a Twitter.
PYPets.
That one's kind of weird. It's like at Perpetually Yours YRS, Perpetually YRS. And then I also have Facebook, which is Facebook/Perpetually Yours Pets. So you guys can find me on all those things and keep up with the ridiculousness that I do. The last thing I posted on Instagram was actually a painting that I did of my gym partner / really good friend's dog, who is one of the loves of my life. I love this dog. And I painted her with 2 legs, but she's been recently made into a tripod. So she's like, she's missing her little...
Is that Lucy?
Yes, that is Lucy.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Because I was confused. I was like, the picture has 2 legs in the front. And I was like, oh no!
I like
I had
this.
to hack her
This
up
is
a little
cool.
bit. She got bone cancer in her shoulder.
Oh,
Dang.
We'll just cut that right off. And she gets going though, man. She gets that little...
She can fly, right?
Yeah. She used to do this thing where when you would come up to her, she would like want you to pet her, so she would put her little paw up like this. But that's the leg that got chopped off. So when you go up to her, you can see her shoulder.
Oh,
like,
God.
she's like ghost pawing me. That's what I call her.
Ghost pawing? I love it.
Ghost pawing me because she doesn't have a leg.
I like this American Pit Bull Terrier pillow you got going on here. This looks awesome.
Yeah.
Tools were used
Just checking
during
this out now.
to send messages back to the troops on the battlefield.
Oh, so that's why you did that one there. Okay. What
They
about the
also have,
Boston
like, a
Terrier?
little-
What was the reasoning behind the Boston Terrier?
Oh, the Boston Terrier. They were bred during the Victorian era, so they're dressed like a little lord and lady of the
Yep.
Victorian.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
And they're known as America's gentlemen. That's like their like dog.
Very cool.
And pit bulls are known as the nanny dog, by the way.
Yeah.
So people are always like so freaked out by pit bulls. Like they fucking love kids. They love everyone. They just want to like do their thing.
I had a pit bull. Sadly, he fell under the terrible stereotype, and we had to
Yeah, he was bitey.
Yeah, but you're right, because I remember doing a ton of research in light of that, and they were the nanny dog. They're very nice, but
that
he just had a
happens
really
with,
bad upbringing.
So even like Australian Shepherds, like I got too, they're herding dogs, so they do a lot of nipping. It's same too as well. That it's like it's like a part of the dog. You have to kind of get used to it. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of ingrained. So at least it's not full on biting. It's just small little stuff.
Just little like hurry up and get where I'm
just
gonna
like
get you go.
I come over this way.
You find that your dog
Don't herd me into the kitchen, bro. Get out of here.
Don't hurt me.
They do that. I used to dog sit a border collie, and she would like if I had someone like over at the same time, she would make sure she would like circle us until like everybody got in the same room. Like that's their job. They do their job.
They do. It's so odd. Like I've never taught him how to do any of that stuff, but like we go to around the area where my chickens are, and he will naturally just do it. And I'm like, this is cool. All right.
Yeah. They're like brain into their little job.
I saw that you had a Kickstarter, Rachel.
Yes. Well, my idea that was just kind of like a placeholder, wishful thinking type thing. But I am starting a Kickstarter. I haven't done it yet. I actually was going to do it a year ago, and then I decided to start doing this clothing thing. So I said, okay, let me put the Kickstarter on the back burner until I get this clothing thing started. I have a client who I did some graphic design work for because I'm a freelance graphic designer for my 9 to 5. And he's a clothing manufacturer.